icon continue to rule the world. Uzi goes godlike. This is what peak League of Legends looks like.
Welcome to the opening day of the 2021 Mid-Season Invitational. Champions from across the globe have gathered in beautiful Reykjavik, Iceland, where we will witness a clash of styles and regions in a new format that brings a huge potential for upsets. Damwon Kia are coming in as heavy favorites, and we'll see if the LCK powerhouse can keep that up, and we'll see them immediately in our very first game as they take on the hope of the LCS, Cloud9, led by reigning MSI champion, Perks. I'm Shox, joined by Verius and by Wadid. And let me just say, we did not have MSI last year, and it sucked. I am so happy that we get international competition. And Wadid, I'm very happy that you could join us as well.
Well, hey everyone, Wadid here. This time not as a player, but for the quality content, I'm with you.
Yeah, and like this kind of, you know, this counts as you being part of EU, right? On the broadcast, which is in Berlin for MSI, kind of, even though you're in Korea, and that's actually how the whole broadcast setup is set up. We will cover every single day from MSI with guests calling in from across the globe, a 30-minute pre-show every day. And as always, the best moments from MSI. Now that is a big on-air talent team.
Certainly is, guys. You're not going to have to choose your fighters because fortunately every single one of them are going to be showing up on our broadcast. We're going to get to see some fantastic NA talent later on in the day. We already have some great LCK talent on our screen, and there's more to come, so keep your eyes peeled because all your favorite talent is going to be here for sure.
Yes, it's not about the talent though, it's about the players and the teams, and unfortunately a little bit of news is that the VCS representatives, GAM Esports, are not with us due to travel restrictions. Unfortunately, that happened again, and we really, really hope to see them again because they always bring so much flair and so much great performances to the international stage. And speaking of the performances of the teams, we have a new format, Verius, and as said in the intro, we expect a lot of upsets.
Yeah, we do. Best of one format. A lot of teams are now going to get to play against each other that they didn't in the past. And I'm excited to see how things play out this time around.
As said, it is maybe a bit complicated. So before we discuss the different teams, let's get a rundown of the format here at MSI 2021.
The best teams in the world are gathering in Iceland for the 2021 Mid-Season Invitational. Let's check out the tournament's new format. 11 teams will compete in up to 3 stages of MSI. The group stage, the rumble stage, and the knockout stage. All 3 stages will take place in Reykjavik, Iceland. Each of the 11 competing regions will send one qualifier, their top team of 2021 so far. For the group stage, the teams have been drawn into 2 groups of 4 and 1 group of 3. The 2 groups of 4 will play a best-of-1 double round robin, and the group of 3 will play a best-of-1 quadruple round robin within their groups. The top 2 teams from each group will advance to the Rumble, where all 6 teams will play a best-of-1 double round robin. The top 4 teams will advance to the semi-finals, where they will play in a pair of best-of-5 matches. The winners of these matches will meet at the finals, battling it out in one last best-of-5 match to determine the best team in the world. Your MSI 2021 champion.
Thank you very much for that, Frankie. A great new system, which also means when we pull up the groups, that there are some teams here that have never gotten the chance to play against each other or to play against the top seeds from regions. And those are the kind of matchups that we're very much looking forward to. Wadid, maybe first, when you look at these groups, what do you think about the distribution of the teams across the 3 groups?
I feel like the groups are really balanced, maybe except the group 1, group A. But what I mean is like they are the winners, right? So they already know how to win. Every team got huge confidence in themselves. So, I mean, I think we just need to look at like how they play in the first day.
That's true. I mean, what we always have to remember about MSI, it is the best regions. You only play the best from each region, so it's incredibly intense.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I do feel like that right now we have very strong representatives coming from across the globe, and I'm excited to see some of these regions that you talked about never get that chance. Like, you know, I'm a huge fan of the LGL.
Yes.
The fact that we're going to get to see Detonation Focus Me with some new players on their roster go up against against the likes for Cloud9 and Damwon. Obviously, it's going to be a big challenge, but we know they're going to learn a lot, and hopefully they can create some upsets and chaos in the group. So it's going to be exciting. Lots of banter is going to be thrown, and I'm sure many Reddit threads will come about as a result.
Yes, as is expected, as is tradition. Now, Iceland is, of course, a country with rich history, nature, culture, and across the tournament, we'll also take some time to highlight the host for MSI 2021 in our daily Icelandic Fun Fact series. So let's kick it off. We're in Reykjavik, so let's start with the city itself. This is not just any regular capital. The city holds the record for the northernmost capital in the world and is also the largest city on Iceland. Now, the city was named by Ingólfur Annarsson. Please tweet me how I'm supposed to pronounce that.
I liked it.
Who settled on Iceland around 870 in the area where the city now stands. Today, around 140,000 people live in the city area, which is considered the economic, cultural, and political center of the country. Don't ever let people tell you you don't learn anything from watching people play video games, okay?
And I'm sure we're going to have some wild, crazy, and really fun facts coming out throughout the broadcast, so make sure you keep tuning and let us know which one is the favorite.
Yeah, they're going to get progressively more fun, because this was factual, necessary info, but we're going to get some really fun bangers in there. Now, EU and G2 Esports, they are the reigning MSI champions, but after we saw at Worlds from Damwon and the LCK, I mean, they have to be heavy favorites. So I'm going to jump into a topic which I think will have a lot of people jumping on their keyboards. So for that, you can now vote in chat which region is the strongest at MSI. Spam LCK, LEC, LCS, or LPL, or if your region is not listed, you can do that as well.
You certainly can do that as well. But I have to immediately jump on the line because I know a lot of you are going to start voting for the LCK or the LPL. But listen, Cloud9, guys. Cloud9 should be considered as one of your favorites. Not only do they have the reigning MSI champion perks, but this is probably the most stacked roster NA has ever sent. Not only is it Cloud9, one of your internationally most successful orgs, but like you've got Sven, you've got Vulcan, you have Fudge now coming in the top lane with a powerhouse coaching staff behind them. So like, give Cloud9 consideration, give LCS that vote that I think they could.
Why didn't you mention Blabber? That was...
I mean, yeah, because he's late. I mean, Blabber's a natural. I don't have to mention Blabber. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's a natural.
Yeah, I mean, great team. I saw you nodding there. Do you agree that we should have some hype for Cloud9 this tournament?
Of course. I mean, I'm not sure if I should call them C9 or G9, but like I would love to see like Perks and Sven and Mithi reunited. So it's so fun to watch, and also Blabber, like he's a god right now, like the spring MVP right now. So he's ready to pop off.
They are ready to pop off indeed. We will see in the first game of the day. And then let's talk a bit about the Mad Lions, a new champion from the LEC. And when we listen to what's being talked about online, yeah, I think the expectations are a bit hot and cold, and that's putting it lightly.
There's a lot of negative Nancys out there, Shocks, and I don't like it because Mad had to go through both G2 and Rogue in order to qualify for MSI. Their final was a nail-biter, and I know some of you are skeptical, but look at that man's face right now. Look into his eyes and tell me that you do not have confidence in the Turkish top laner Armut. I think this team is going to bring a lot of surprises to the tournament. I think that their adaptability and their ability to learn is very, very proficient, and I think we're going to see a very scary LEC representative this time around.
Okay, we have marked those words. So we talked about Damwon, the LEC, and the LCS. We have to talk about RNG returning to the international stage, reclaiming the LPL trophy. Finally, Wadid, how strong do you think this team is going to be at MSI?
Uzi out, top lane Xiao in. Like playing around top side early into bot lane late games seems like mainly Xiao and Wei controls early game and finisher by Ming. I mean, those kind of new playstyle, old name, but new playstyle, so maybe it can be refresher for us right now.
Yeah, I mean, even though this is only their return to the international stage, right, since 2018, the expectations are always high when you talk about RNG, which is such a mainstay in the LPL.
Certainly will be, and I think with Jiaohu returning as well, sometimes known as the Spring King, you know, I think that he's looking to get himself another MSI trophy, and I think that as Wadid said, they do typically play through top side. We know that their bot lane can be scary as well. Definitely a powerhouse to keep your eye on.
Definitely. So the vote checking, LCK win with 47% of the vote. Let's see, we had LPL at 12, LCK the best at 45. So I guess that went up to
22% for LEC. I'll take that.
They're almost tied, LCS and LEC.
I'll take that.
That's pretty
job,
fair,
chat.
I would say. So let's talk a bit about the meta, because of course it has changed a lot since the last time we saw these teams on the Rift. We're going to review some of the new trends on patch 11.9, and even in the patch notes, in the intro, it said, well, we're shuffling up the meta right before MSI. And my God, did they do exactly that?
Yeah, they certainly are. There are so many changes coming around with AP junglers, AD mids, all kinds of different picks across the board. It's pretty interesting to see what's going to come out of this MSI tournament.
That it is, and a lot of fans are excited to see the changes on the Rift, including Samuels, who is asking which champions will rise or fall in priority in our MasterCard question of the day. If you want to ask a question to our on-air talent, submit your question by posting it to @MasterCardNexus on Twitter. So let me relay that question to my analyst. Which champions do you think maybe that we saw a lot in playoffs are we not going to see, and which ones are we going to see much more?
For me, I'm interested in flexible champions like Rumble, Morgana, Lulu, because it can fit in a lot of different positions, right? And that means like huge champion pool is going to help them. And also there is Top Shen, which is such a good card for NA. It can help the team who plays around both sides.
You can see that we did recently watch Picks to Watch, because he picked some pretty strong champions that are indeed quite flexible. Yeah, I definitely think that these AP junglers are going to be rising in priority. I've been seeing a lot of Kindred popping up in solo queue as well, and that kind of brings into question like what will be the most powerful. And it is going to be a very different game. The days of like, I think Udyr, Hecarim, Volibear may very well still show themselves on occasion, but these three on your screen I think are going to be the prime go-to junglers coming into this MSI patch.
So when we see such a possible shift in the jungles that get the jungle champions that get priority, that must mean a lot for just the structure of the teams and the team compositions and the types of games we're going to see.
It certainly will be, because when you have AP junglers, that usually means you need AD top or AD mid. And across the world, we've already been seeing a huge amount of Lucian and Tristana. And to go back to that question, I think these AD mids are naturally going to rise in priority in terms of both being banned on the table and being picked. We know that Tristana and Lucian have a lot of early game dominance in lane. They scale very well into late game team fights, and they just offer a lot to all team compositions, especially when there are so many more AP options coming out from the junglers.
So where does that leave the engage? We know we saw so many team fighting compositions and the games coming down to the wire in the team fight, specifically in playoffs with it. Where does the engage come from with this new approach to the draft?
I mean, some mid players are not able to play AD mids, but if you can also use AP bot lane in the bot lane, which means you can bring up some crazy supports like not like usable champion like Wukong support, like for example, like I like that, you know. I want to see more crazy stuff on bot lane too.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like in situations where there is a new patch and there is a lot of opportunity for flexibility on the patch, it seems that naturally the teams that have the deepest champion pools, they usually do the best. And I mean, down one comes to mind immediately again.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. And I think that this is where we're going to get to see a lot of the creativity from the different regions as well. Their interpretations of what is strong on the current patch. Because as we was saying, we could see a lot of new champions down in the bot lane to offer that engage. We could potentially see it come out from AD carries. Varus Ashe could be the new go-to. Maybe even top lane. I think there's so much flexibility in room that I'm really excited to see what the game will look like here on the MSI patch.
I completely agree, and we'll see the new patch in action today as we kick off MSI 2021 with our opening 6 games. That's right, 6 games a day. We kick things off with Cloud9 versus Damwon. Then we have in the middle of the day the CB LoL versus TCL rivalry, which is always amazing in paying gaming, versus the Wildcats. And then at the end of the day, Mad, which Vedius has hyped up for us, versus PSG. That's a hard match.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that final game of the day, but I think I'm more excited about the second game of the day. Detonation focused me. I'm so excited to see Arya on the international stage. I think DFM is going to be a team to watch for me. So yeah, I think a stacked day of League of Legends to kick off MSI.
I don't know if I even have to ask, but what is the match you're looking forward to the most today?
I mean, of course, Damwon TS game, you know. Yeah. I like their playstyle, so I can't wait to see them like having fun against C9.
Absolutely, and our opening game is indeed the perfect way to start the tournament as the reigning world champions Damwon Kia take on Cloud9, with Perkz returning to the stage where he won his first international title 2 years ago.
ball over to Perk.
I'm excited to play against the best teams in the world to get really good practice. I'm personally excited to play against Canyon.
Cloud9 are your mid-season showdown champions. Lid's at half health. Rula is running for the hills, and Genji are falling apart.
Fantastic. As we see the arrival of the two teams in the studio in Reykjavik at the arena. Two teams with so much hype coming into the tournament. There he is. Tricky jumping out of that van, but there they are. Fantastic. Great to see the players. They look in good spirits. And let's set the stage for this first matchup. First, the big picture. Of course, Damwon Kia, the reigning world champions, with two big changes coming into this year. Swapping Khan in for Nagari in the top lane. And of course, in the coaching staff, Koma and Puma do the legends from SKT now on the coaching staff. What has been your impression of Damwon this split?
For them, it's more like let the show begin right now, you know? Some people are saying they miss Naguri, but for me, personally, it feels so much better with Khan and Goma. Their gameplay style, as I said, in more controlled and no more random throws. Like as a player, I like the way how they approach to the game, especially the way how they build up for objective fights, the late game rotations. They're more calm and collected, so that's why I like it.
If you look at the numbers of what they did in LCK 16-2 in the regular season, they didn't drop a game in the playoffs, 6-0. You got to say, well, yeah, it is working, Verius. Do you agree with what they did? Because this is the million-dollar question for Damwon, that this is, dare I say it, a better version of Damwon?
Ooh, I don't know if I'm willing to say that they're a better version just yet. I think that they look like a cut above the competition over in the LCK, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they stack up against some of the other international powerhouses, because one of the things for me that Nagari brought was that X factor, something that I think sometimes LCK teams in the past haven't had. Sometimes that they can be a little too controlled, too refined, wanting to make sure that they make the perfect play, but Nagari was a player that I think had that spice, had that flavor that was always willing to make that outplay, and I think that with the loss of that, I'm curious as to how much that does impact them, because I think in playoffs, they were a lot slower, they did look like a little different, and I think at times they got away with games that they shouldn't have gotten away with. So I am curious. I still have a couple questions myself, but that doesn't take anything away from the fact that 4 of the 5 members are still world champions on this roster, and they are considered the best in their roles.
Absolutely, and the expectations are high. Winning World Championship, winning the preseason Kespa Cup, then winning the title once again in the LCK, and now wanting to keep building on those international titles. That is the goal for Damwon. But let's look over at their opponents. Cloud9, this is only their first MSI. I know, I scratched my head as well when I saw that, but of course they missed out last year around, even though they won the spring split. But historically, this is the best North American team internationally. There's something about the dynamic of each of the teams that is fielded with Cloud9 that they always go above and beyond on the international stage.
They certainly do surprise and impress whenever they go to the international stage. When many teams from NA are considered stronger than them, they fail to get out of groups yet. It's always Cloud9 clawing a way out, making their way towards the quarterfinals, even the semifinals back in 2019. So I think that when you look at this Cloud9 organization, you often think of success, you think of a pedigree of producing talent that you don't expect to perform. And I think that this time around, there are a lot of names on this roster that, like, perhaps some people don't expect to perform, but when paired alongside the name like Perks, it's difficult to not see this team turning heads and creating some chaos.
Yes, this was, of course, a super big roster change. I'm still reeling of it. Perks going over to Cloud9, the returning MSI champion, this time in a new jersey. And, you know, we can't overstate how important Perks is when it comes to the clutch moments, to the playoff games as we saw in the LCS, but also to the international stage.
Perks is just, he's a GOAT. He is one of the Western GOATs just because of how talented he is. This guy only knows winning. 9 titles, like 5 worlds played. Like the guy just only knows success. And even in the times when you don't expect him, it's like when he went to Worlds with Wadid, many people did not expect that roster to make it all the way to semifinals, even taking down RNG. And like, I think Wadid can even talk about his experience with Perks and like what he can offer to a team international.
Yeah, Wadid, of course, you are the most important source here on the desk. Talk to me about what a player like Perks, and Perks specifically, adds in those clutch moments for the teams.
I mean, for me, he's a little devil, you know, like he's teaching inside of the game and outside of the game. Like he's always trying to find out the new things for the team. And that actually motivates a lot for the team. So that's why wherever he goes, it makes so much better.
We saw a prime example of that in the LCS finals. Cloud9 earned their spot at MSI after a thriller versus Team Liquid, with Perks setting the team up in our State Farm Assist of the Week.
The perks of a flank in this Assist of the Week presented by State Farm. In Game 5 of Cloud9 versus Team Liquid, Alphari was wreaking havoc on C9's backline until Perk's deep teleport brought an onslaught to C9's arsenal.
Continues running forward, but he has to be careful.
Here
One
comes
more auto attack might be able to
Perks.
finish him off. Alphari over the wall. He needs a little bit more, but Perks is back into the back lines with the onslaught of shadows. Tactical will try to survive, but it will not happen.
That's the victory that brought Cloud9 to MSI. Let's dive a bit deeper into a couple of matchups, specifically the mid-jungle matchup. I think when we talk about Showmaker, Canyon, and Perks, Blabber, that is just a finger-licking good matchup to start things off with at MSI.
It certainly is, and I'm really interested to see how they'll approach the game, because let's start off with Perks and Blabber. I think that whenever you see Perks on a roster, he is someone that is quite resource-heavy. He's someone that likes to call for a lot of attention, because that then better enables him to then open up on the map and impact the map. And I think Blabber is the type of jungler that does just that. He's fantastic at enabling Perks, opening him up on the map, setting him up for those roams towards side lanes, and I think that Blabber is also a large part of what makes things happen for this team in the early game.
Absolutely, the back-to-back LCS MVP in Blabber, a player that knows when to take the skirmishes and when to back off, and he leads that tempo for the team in the early game. What do you make of the mid-jungle matchup for C9 and how they might match up versus Damwon?
I mean, Riot Games tried to nerf a lot in the jungle position, but it seems like jungle is still strong, you know? Like, Blabber and Prex always make the plays together. That means, I mean, if you have good mid-jungle, the game is so easy, you know? And Blabber is popping up with the experienced players right now, so that's why Cena looks so much better. But I mean, you're playing against Showmaker and Canyon. Do I need to introduce them? Or?
Yes.
Okay, like, they actually changed my mindset. Like, I didn't know that Nidalee can do a good late game team fight and also like Renekton, you know, like they changed my whole game knowledge. So like, it's just so amazing to watch the way how they fight and rotate each other's, you know, like they play Nidalee Renekton. I didn't expect Showmaker to just pop off as a mid Renekton, you know, like if you watched LCK finals, it was just phenomenal.
It was scary, yeah.
They are flexible, to say the least. You know, you talked about champion pools earlier on in the day, Shocks, and I think that these two are kind of the epitome of what a very deep champion pool looks like. They're willing to play pretty much anything and everything, and I think that they complement each other so well. And what I think is so interesting about the DK style is, even last year, what allowed them so much success was that it's not junglers playing for lanes, it's lanes playing for jungle. Usually what DK will do is set up Canyon for success. They are such reliable and consistent laners that Canyon can basically do whatever he wants, and he knows that he's going to get the support from the rest of his team to best set him up for success, to either be a carry, be an engaged facilitator, or wherever he needs to be. So I think that what is so impressive about Damwon is that they've kind of set the expectation, they set the trend that many teams across the world have even tried to emulate, especially here in Europe. Rogue's style is very similar to what Damwon did as well. So I think that they're kind of trendsetters in how the meta was played, especially on the last patch.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a full package when you look at it, right? That versatility, what they can bring in draft, also the way they can approach games. They don't have to put the pedal to the metal immediately in the early game. And even if they're behind, if you have 1 second of indecisiveness as the enemy team, they are so good at capitalizing on that and turning it around. So let's talk about the general games that we expect to see here. What do you think about the early game specifically? Where will the priorities lie when these two teams go on the Rift in this first game?
Maybe because of the new meta. I mean, it's not the new meta, but like AD mids are coming in a lot, like in the mid lane, right? And also that means you can use a lot of AP junglers. So like if you play AP junglers, you need to be ahead on enemy jungler. So it's gonna be like invading, like just toe to toe. Blabber tries to like kill Canyon somehow, but it's like, it's gonna be really just funny matchup.
My expectations are that C9 are not going to be too worried about the top side of the map. I think that Khan is incredibly consistent, but it seems to me that he's become a role player on the team of Damwon. In the past, you would be worried that if Nogari was on a carry, that he could single-handedly 1v9 a game. I think that Khan is still capable of playing carries, don't get me wrong, but that isn't really his biggest strength. His Scion is probably his most terrifying champion, and trust me, it is very terrifying, but I think that what Cloud9 can do is look to try and get themselves to stronger mid-jungle. They can trust their bot lane to be consistent, get Vulcan access out onto the map, and then basically look to leverage what they've done so well, especially towards the end of the regular season in the LCS. Look to play strong through top side, see if they can gain advantages, and I think it's all about controlling and shutting down Canyon. If Blabber can get an edge, I believe that Cloud9 have the ability to come out on top. The question is, can they do it? Because so many teams have tried. Suning last year couldn't really control Canyon, and that was the hardest part about that.
Yeah, G2 couldn't either, of course. So now Perkz, by the way, is meeting Showmaker for the first time in the mid lane. They, of course, played when he was down in the bottom lane. But let's talk about the bot lane. We have what did here as well. We have Ghost and Beryl up versus Sven and Vulcan. And in an interview with Ashley Kang, Sven was saying, I could not wait to get back to the international stage. Winning the spring split, yes, it's great, but I want to get back. The last time we saw him was actually Worlds 2017, because after he went to TSM, they did not make it. Now he's back, and I have such high expectations. So can you break down this bot lane matchup for me? Sven and Vulcan up versus Ghost and Beryl, who have been so incredibly deadly in the LCK.
I mean, I think both bot laners are like more like their synergy is just so much better than others, you know. Always when we think about Sven and Vulcan, they just always smurf in a solo queue, and they never fail in laning phase. But sometimes they were shaky, like in this spring split especially, they were shaky in laning phase. But also Damwon, Ghost and Beryl, they are good players, but in some games they were like just like giving up some random kills and having some troubles in laning phase. So maybe like I think both teams bot lane wants to prove themselves like we are the strongest point for the team. You know, we can actually carry for the team. So it's gonna be a spicy bot lane matchup, I would say.
What I do think is interesting is that in the playoffs, we saw a little bit more of a bot-focused meta, with things like Jinx rising in priority so dramatically. And because the game became about team fights, we saw like kind of engage bruisers top, which you didn't really play for, like the things like the Gnar in particular. And then you'd have these hyper carries down bot, and then you'd funnel a lot more resources into them, Tristana, Jinx, etc., etc. But with changes to the meta, as Wadid was saying, I wonder if we'll see things more like Varus, more like Ashe, more of these engage AD carries. That does, of course, give you more opportunity to set up plays in the 2 versus 2 on the bot side of the map, but it's also not a lane that you necessarily play through. So I have a lot of question marks around what will this bot lane even look like? Will it be the point of focus? Because as you rightly said, I know that Sven is hungry. When he's motivated, he plays even better than he normally does. And I think that Ghost also has a lot to prove. So I think both these AD carries are going to come in hungry, going to come in looking to prove themselves and showcase that they are some of the best talent that we have in the world.
Getting so excited, especially also with the new patch and everything. But sometimes it happens that the first games, they're not exactly as crazy as you expect, but something tells me that this game will be like that, because you have those 2 players on either side that want to prove so much. But it is hard for Cloud9. They are the LCS champions. They look great, but Damwon are the world champions. Vedius, make a case for Cloud9 for me.
Yeah, because I actually want to predict Cloud9. Nice. I think that Cloud9 will actually take this game, and the main reason is that when we look back at their best of 5s, something that they brought out in Game 4 was a pretty inventive level 1 strategy. And I think that when you're at the very beginning of a tournament, little of the meta has been seen. I feel like Cloud9 is going to come in with a plan, and they're going to go off the gates swinging.
What's the plan?
I do not know what that level 1 plan is. I cannot, unfortunately, predict what it is that they have planned. I just know, I feel like they will have something prepared. The question is, what will it be, and how will they execute it, and will they be able to pull off? But I think it will be a good enough lead, and I think they'll catch Damwon off guard. And I don't think that Damwon will go undefeated, and I think this is the win that Cloud9 will get.
This is the game. What do you think?
This is my simple answer for Damwon. I think it's gonna be just funny matchup for Damwon. I mean, I'm not sure if they can use their world skin, but maybe this is the game that they can actually show up their skins and have fun against NA team, yeah?
We know in many of the interviews, when it's with Showmaker and whatnot, he's always bringing up how he wants to, or go against G2 or now go against Perk. So Cloud9's going to be like, well, we didn't do anything. Like, why do you want to beat us again? But no team wants to drop a game when they go into a tournament. But I cannot overstate how big it would be for Cloud9 if they could take away this first win.
It certainly would be. And I think that the biggest mental game would be for Blabber to lock in Nidalee and even lock in Canyon Skin. Get the mental games going. We know both these teams are looking for it. They're down for the banter. And I'm excited to see this first game. So let's get into it.
Let's go. This is a fitting matchup to kick off the tournament as MSI returns to our screens with a brand new look and a revival of old rivalries. Let's get into the action.
Where were you when the West rose up? SK Telecom continue to rule the world. Fuzi goes godlike.
This is what peak League of Legends looks like.
It's a new era. We are the kings of Europe now.
那个轻松，然后对手打我们可能会比较大意。
I'm the best mid laner in MSI, hands down.
저번엔 폭주를 원딜을 해서 이겼었는데.
Everyone else should fear Brazil. They don't know what's coming.
Go ahead and doubt us. You saw how it went for G2 and Fnatic.
Habu is on an absolute mission.
RNG, we're coming for you.
我只有一个目标，就是让 RNG 取胜。
Быть андердогом не значит быть лузером.
Somos la mejor bot en Latinoamérica y vamos a probar que podemos ser la mejor bot en el mundo.
Welcome, everyone, from around the world to Reykjavik, Iceland, where the wait is over and the battle to be crowned 2021 MSI champions is about to begin. Kicking off the group stage, it's two teams that conquered all comers from their respective regions. First onto the stage, it's the top team from Korea's LCK and reigning world champions, Damwon Kia. Facing off against Damwon, the #1 team from North America's LCS, Cloud9. The wait is over. It's time to kick off MSI 2021.
Me and my squad gon' turn on the squads like we don't see no other players. Ain't nothing to squash, ain't nothing to solve. You played and you already did. I'm ready to mob, I'm ready to mosh, shit moving with nobody scared.
Where were you when the West rose up?
It starts right here.
SK Telecom continue to rule the world. Fuzi goes godlike.
就在已经超神了。 This is what peak League of Legends looks like.
here we go. Game 1 MSI 2021 Danwon Kia versus Cloud9. What a way to kick things off. I'm Dracos, and it is my absolute pleasure to be joined. First international appearance, no flame. It's my boy Kate.
Was at Worlds Play-ins last year and on the desk a little bit.
That's
but as a
true.
caster, it kind of is my first international appearance, and I am so excited to do it.
Well, and you're not alone here. There's a lot of players setting foot on the stage that either haven't been here in a while or are experiencing some of their first times. A lot of names that we are excited to see, but inevitably turning our attention towards some of the veterans. You heard it on the desk, and you're going to hear it here again on the caster desk as well. Jungle mid, the matchup that every single person is talking about. If you're in high elo solo queue, you know to fear this man, Canyon. An absolutely lethal threat. Can Blabber and Perks match up against him and Showmaker? What we're going to find out, but the biggest question on everyone's mind really is what's going to change in this patch. Rumble, powerful in solo queue, and it would appear top tier ban as we head to picks and bans.
Yeah, just as they were talking about on the analyst test, things like Rumble, Diana, Morgana, these AP junglers are coming to fruition, which means AD mids are also strong. We've been seeing Lee Sin solo lane as that's been banned away from Perks. He's laughing there on the camera. You can see he's been spamming that in solo queue. Lots of the solo laners here at MSI prioritizing the Lee Sin, gives you a lot of push priority, a very, very good champion to early skirmish with, and it pairs so well with AP junglers. So AP junglers, AD mids are the key here, and that's why mid jungle is such a big focus.
Well, so far, 2 bans on those AP junglers. Maybe we see a third, Morgana, the other big pick that's rumored to be rising in popularity in professional play and in scrims from what we have heard. Now, if all 3 are banned away, not only does it limit the AP jungle pool, it also limits AD mid laners. More often than not, you want to see those 2 paired together. Morgana, though, is up and available. Jace will be the final ban, and might see our first Morgana of the tournament as first pick here now locked in, expecting that to go into the hands of Canyon.
Yeah, Canyon's been playing a lot of Morgana in solo queue. One of the strongest AP junglers alongside that Rumble, so that's going to get first picked away. How is C9 going to respond? I would be surprised to see a Diana. We might see something like the Kindred. Varus, Jinx are the strongest ADs on the patch, you would argue as well. The poke Varus so prevalent in fights. Poke them up before the dragon spawns. Can get you that priority towards the objective first. So we'll have to see how C9 responds. That's in Varus insta-lock. And it's all down to jungle here for me. The Kindred is something I wouldn't be surprised to see. Maybe go towards an AP mid laner for Perks. Things like the Sylas could be really strong against the Morgana. And then how does Damwon respond?
And Kadril, I love it. If you have not tuned in to any League of Legends since playoffs, Chem Tank is dead. God bless. We got a Kindred, Morgana, jungle matchup into a Jhin Leona bot lane. We got a Varus coming in as well. Every single pick is different in terms of overall priority. And frankly, Canyon on Morgana versus Blabber on one of his signature picks in the Kindred. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait. This meta is going to be a lot more fighting, a lot more action, and so much outplays to expect. You're not going to see Hecrims and Udyrs running around the Rift. You're going to see skill fights. You're going to see bindings, skill shots. You're going to see lots and 1v1s, 2v2s around early scuttles, and I'm so excited to see how it goes. But jungle bot lane has been picked for both these teams. C9 on red side can counter pick mid or top, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of Sylas priority for C9 here into that Leona, into that Morgana, as Renekton's already banned away. They're banning away the blind pick tops that Khan could have and trying to target him down.
And of course, Fudge, one of the least experienced members on this stage, still only 18 years old. Yes, he's technically 3 years into his career, and he has grown a lot over the course of LCS, but I know a lot of people are wondering how he will stack up against Khan. So getting him a safe matchup, potentially giving him that counter pick, could be the first step on setting him up for success. Now that said, Kadril, mid lane, still what we want to see. Gotta be a fan favorite matchup outside of the jungle. Orianna now banned away. We've heard that control mages have been very popular in scrims. Maybe we see something like a Victor picked up, or maybe we get a curveball.
The thing is, this meta is so unpredictable. There's so much big changes to the jungle, which if jungle gets changed to more AP-orientated champs, then mid lane all of a sudden becomes more AD-orientated. Control mages slowly fall off. You can see the Lucian ban coming out. The Renekton ban is a flex pick for the side of Damwon because you have the Morgana jungle. You can put the Renekton mid. Showmaker's played that. You can put it top as well. So banning out the flex on the Renekton, taking away the Lucian, leaves the Tristana open. You would ask if Showmaker wants to opt into that, or maybe another AD mid. Maybe things like Kiana could come out. Even these assassins could come to fruition as the Lulu gets banned away. Not surprised to see that taken off the board. Perks playing a little bit of Lulu in solo queue alongside Blabber and Kindred in the duo queue sessions I've been seeing, which is very powerful mid-jungle 2v2, right? Level 6, the Kindred gets buffed up, and he's your damage source.
And having a supportive solo laner when you already have double AD carries and a Tom Kench locked in is a big deal, but maybe it is the Victor that's going to be locked in here. Of course, the other pick, I think on everyone's mind, is the Tristana. Halo Blade's Tristana still ridiculously oppressive, barely touched in the patches between playoffs and now, so have to see if that's going to be the option coming in here for Showmaker. Would be a very aggressive pick. It'd be on Perks to survive the early laning phase.
Yeah, C9 also saving their last pick for top here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Khan maybe look for a blind pick Sion. There isn't too much available. I mean, the Rumble's taken off the Jace, the Renekton, lots of picks taken away here. as we're seeing hovers on Zoe. That would mean you have a double AP mid-jungle, which kind of frees up C9 a little bit in terms of stats prioritization. Kind of helps him a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see some more AD come out of the top side then for that one.
And when you've got a Morgana, a Leona, a Jhin, and a Zoe, this is going to be one of the biggest Merc Treads games we've ever seen. That is the freest real estate I have ever seen. Anyone who can be building that item should be building that item. But the question is, how do we round this composition out? Is it the Scion? Gnar is the hover. Keep in mind, this champion has been hit repeatedly. If you were watching NA, you were on 11.5. Gnar was very powerful. He was hit on 11.6. He was also hit again on the most recent patch. Less movement speed on the Hyper Proc, less damage on the Hyper Proc, one of his primary trading tools in the lane phase. Despite that, though, still, Kia very comfortable locking it in as a blind pick here, and a champion that's generally hard to shut down completely.
Yeah, we'll see how Fudge responds. Does he want to go for a weak side top like Sion? Maybe even Karma could shut down the Gnar a little bit. We've seen counters to Gnar like Irelia. I would be surprised to see something like that come out from Fudge. I think a safer top here is also always good because you have a lot of scaling, you have a lot of wave clear, and you have a lot of poke. So we'll see what they opt into, but the Gnar blind pick, we've seen it throughout the last couple of months alongside Renekton, but that's going to be a GP into the Gnar. And Fudge, I mean, the GP is going to be pretty strong, I suppose, because you have a lot of immobile carries on the side of Damwon, the Jhin, the Zoe. They're looking for poke, they're looking to walk up. Zoe, yes, has a lot of range, but if you can land a GP ult with a Victor ult, that's a lot of control in fights. If you imagine a Dragon fight with a Varus, Victor, and a GP, that's a lot of zone control. So Damwon have to be careful. But like you said, they've got a lot of poke, but they've got a lot of CC too.
A lot of poke, a lot of CC. If they can get set up in the mid lane, Kia can certainly take this one over. Way too many long-range, non-committal CC tools between the Zoe, the Morgana, and the Jhin. That is a lethal trio. Now, if the footwork is good enough, if the movement is good enough for Cloud9, maybe it will not matter too much, but a difficult prospect to be certain. Where are we looking right now, Kadril? What lane has got to be the most important here in the early game?
Well, I think bot lane is kind of neutralized to the point where you've got Tam, Kenshin, to Leona. Yes, we'll have the push in that lane, but I think there won't be too much action. Maybe Canyon can look for early pressure towards that side. But I think top lane has a little bit of priority in this game. You don't see too many weak side tops here. You have a GP, yes, you can put a weak side, but up against the Gnar with things like Morgana Kindred, there's a lot of dive potential for both sides. So we're looking at jungle, we're looking at mid priority as well, because if Showmaker can get the push on Zoe and move to sides, that'll be very dangerous, especially the GP falls behind, loses the side push, and that means that the Gnar has free roam across the map. So we're looking at dragon fights, looking at team fights. You've got the Zoe on one side with poke, the poke Varus on the other side, a little bit of poke from both sides, but a lot of team fight too, a lot of engage.
And of course, the flexibility to adjust the Varus build for less poke, for more straight-up team fights. But range advantage over on the side of Kia. Can they use it to cement themselves an advantage here in the early to mid game?
And that's the key, right? The GP kind of solidifies the point where they have a lot of range, but the GP ult will mean the gap closing is a lot easier. So keep your eyes on these big spells from the solo laners of Cloud9. Keep your eyes on Sven, whether he can poke down the side of Damwon, but Showmaker is definitely the person to watch for Cloud9. They need to be very careful when they're setting up round objectives.
Absolutely do. So let's get it kicked off. This is going to be game one. If you're just joining us, it is, of course, patch 11.9. A lot of changes since playoffs on 11.6 or 11.5, depending on what region you were in the first match of one of the tournaments we've been waiting for a long time. Last year, of course, canceled. Sven, a player who should have been there last year, now getting a chance again to play on this stage. And level 1, already getting started for Cloud9.
Yeah, Vedia said on the desk, be careful of Cloud9's level 1s. We saw it in the finals as well. Also things like the lane swap that they did, but this time around, they don't have the Tristana, they don't have the Sion, because they can't opt into that. Maybe they want to look for some kind of invade, but that early ward on the Raptors will solidify some vision. And Canyon is actually running Predator on this Morgana. So he's going to be basing early, getting those boots and moving around the map. I think he also based for Sweeper, so they might be able to take this ward away and get some counter information going now.
And of course, with Verizon 5G All Chat, you can share your opinions, cheers, and well wishes using the Verizon 5G All Chat. We'll take a look at some of those tweets as we move through this game. For now, Damwon staying group, staying together, knowing that ward is there and going as a team to shut it down.
Yeah, but the key thing there is they swept away the ward and they spotted Canyon, which means that Canyon starting on the bot side, because it's already 1:24 into the game when they clear that out. 5 seconds to get the blue buff, no chance. So he's starting on the bot side, C9 have information. As we see a pause already, but C9 were kind of pulling the wave there to help themselves out. They'll know that the Damwon is actually leasing on the bot side, whereas Blabber is starting on the opposite side of the map, on the top side.
And so many of these little decisions are, of course, going to add up to define what we can expect from the early game. Lane push here and there can often alter a jungler's pathing and early priority, but it's something that we'll check in on. We'll keep you guys updated as to the nature of the pause as we get more information. But for now, a brief respite, a time to take a break. I think the problem, Kadril, and when you're a caster at these international events, is there's just so much to talk about. Because not only do we have a brand new patch, brand new ways to play the game, we have so many players, we have so much history, and especially between these two teams, right? You've got former world champions on one side, you have the most successful North American org in LCS history, and now potentially and a lot will change depending on how this tournament goes. A lot of people looking at Cloud9, this Cloud9 roster in particular, as one of the strongest North American rosters to ever come into a tournament like this. And Veti already confident enough in this team to call them out, to predict, to say that they can win. Now, I still think that when we look at North America over the last few years, you have to view this region as underdogs. They've been just outside of that top 3. LEC has had the edge, but a lot can change today, and a lot can change in this tournament depending on what this Cloud9 roster can do.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they do on this international stage. They should have been here last year. There was no MSI, but they're here this time around. And not only do the organizations have so much history, also the players, right? You can look at any role in this game and there's history. There's so much to talk about. There's so much hype. You know, Sven and Vulcan dominating bot lane across in the LCS. And then you've got Fudge, like you said, 18 years old, going up against Khan, who's like one of the most staple top laners at this point, such a veteran. He's been to finals in MSI, things like this. So we'll have to see how it progresses. But mid-jungle's definitely been the focus. And that's definitely the most exciting part, I think. Perkz going up against Damwon, and now he's in mid lane instead of AD carry. A lot more agency against Showmaker.
And as an update, C9 pause, it looks like there was, in the end, no issue here, so we will be resuming the game shortly. But I think it's hard not to talk about mid-jungle for a lot of reasons. One, Showmaker, a guy that you always want to look at, but he's going up against Perkz, right? A player who moved to NA and immediately started to dominate the region. Of course, it was a rough lock-in tournament, but after that, he's been going full steam ahead. As we take a look at this mid-lane matchup, a lot of things are going to change depending on how these junglers work. Blabber looking like one of the most promising NA talents we've seen in a long time. And on the opposite side, Canyon, arguably the best jungler in the world.
Yeah, if not the best jungler, the best player of the tournament, you could say, right? Canyon, so high up in solo queue, almost a step ahead of everyone at this MSI bootcamp, and these two junglers coming up against each other. Like you said, you've got Blabber, who's looking really good, really promising alongside Perkz. He's been unlocked. Even last year, he looked very, very strong, and now coming against Canyon, arguably the best jungler, if not the best player of the tournament. It's going to be interesting to see how both these junglers progress, because even if you look at the stats, they're kind of similar in ways. They're both self-sufficient, very, very efficient around their pathing. And this game, they're pathing to opposite sides, so they'll both get a full clear off. And we'll have to see how the mid push progresses, because that's what junglers need. They need the mid push. That solidifies the middle of the map pushed in, which means you can move the sides together. So they need to work together. They need to work as a unit in harmony to make sure they can get these side lanes even or ahead.
And one thing that I do like that we're seeing from Canyon already is the Predator now coming out. Of course, Morgana's a champion that's only really recently risen up as she got the jungle buffs, the clearing, of course, on her Tormented Soil, essentially double damage against monsters. You can see Canyon just zooming through the jungle, but see what that Predator is going to do if he just runs into melee range of a champion to make sure that he absolutely cannot miss that dark binding. It's a solid strategy, and pressure on Blabber to outplay that. Of course, you've got the ability to dodge repeatedly with the Kindred Q, but single binding hits on any one of these members, it's going to be a very difficult game.
Yeah, along with the blue smite, you can kind of walk up to them with the Predator and make sure you land that binding. But if you look at the top side, Fudge already has pressure, crashed the wave into Khan, based, did a cheater recall, and now he's kept his TP in this lane. As we see, Canyon actually backtracked on his pathing. He's level 4 to Blabber's level 3. That could be a fight here. We'll have to look at bot and mid push.
Going to be a big deal. That's going to be the follow-up CC. Already the Devourer has now been used. Perkz locked up. Guardian going to block most of that damage, trying to trade back here, but the arrow goes wide, and in the meantime, it looks like Blabber's just going to have to concede the crab.
Such smart pathing from Canyon. He actually managed to full clear towards top and contest the bot crab by the time Blabber only got to level 3, so denies the crab, doesn't want to look for a cross map in the sense that they trade, and now he can get double crab. Already ahead in this jungle matchup. The mid priority also helping him secure that crab.
Really good look early on. Having just a small camp advantage, a small XP advantage is going to further snowball as the second crab comes through. Canyon feeling damn good in this early game. That said, Perkz getting the better of Showmaker for now in some of these early trades. Victor Q just notoriously oppressive in lane. And as we just check in on the rest of the map, otherwise, lane state overall pretty even. Yes, Perkz doing okay in pressure and in trades, but Showmaker still winning out in CS. And Khan, while he did end up giving a pretty favorable recall to Fudge, it looks like he is still managing to keep pressure on the top side.
Yeah, Fudge still has a TP, so lots of back and forth going in these lanes. So Showmaker TPing back, but the key thing is Canyon's already slightly ahead. He's already based, he got double crab, has the boots, has the Predator ready. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Canyon clear out these Krugs, clear out the Raptors, get level 5, and look for action around the map, because they have got this bot push, they are winning bot trades, they have the mid push. Maybe they want to look for some kind of mid to bot. As we see such aggressive trading coming out from Barrel.
Perkz locked up, immediate Devour. Of course, long cooldown early. If you can force a couple engages back-to-back, maybe you can punish, but Sven for now doing quite well. Even if it is the lethality bars, of course, Halo Blade's just very, very strong in the early laning phase. Certainly going to outvalue, at least in short trades, the likes of the Fleet footwork. But that said, Canyon now on the way to this bottom tower. They are both incredibly low. A single binding hits and they are done. That said, Zenith Blade has been used. Canyon still going to walk in, binding in, cleanse out from Vulcan. Really good pressure comes in from Canyon.
Yeah, that's the pressure of the mid to bot, having mid push and having your jungler one step ahead of the enemy jungle because of the double crab, because of the base with Predator. He walks up there, and although he doesn't really force much other than a cleanse, he makes it so Sven loses bot wave and Damon's bot lane bases at the same tempo as C9. So that means they'll both get back to the lane together at the same time, but Damwon just naturally has an advantage, denying XP and golds from the bot lane of C9. And what did Canyon lose for that? Basically nothing. He used about 10 to 15 seconds of his time, he already cleared out the Krugs, and now he's already pathing towards the top side. So these small kind of intricacies making it so Canyon can get his lanes ahead, so they can make sure that they can get the gold leads, the XP leads coming into these early dragons.
And you see already Showmaker small XP lead over Perks, Khan doing okay over Fudge. As level 6s start to come through, maybe we see a bit more aggression coming in from Khan on the top side when he has access to that ultimate, but I think more important for C9 is going to be the cannon barrage from Fudge. Does it stop out some of these aggressive plays? Does it give them the avenue to kick something off? Because as you mentioned in Champ Select, Kadril, a lot of very immobile carries on the side of Danwon Kia.
And he'll definitely need that cannon barrage soon, because it looks like Canyon's based again after clearing his top camps. He's walking back towards the bot side. His bot camps are going to respawn, and Beryl's teamed up with Showmaker to secure bot side vision. So C9 have a big problem on the bot side of the map. That's why you can see them grouping up. They need to get rid of this vision so they can actually see Damwon moving from mid to bot so they can stop it. But it looks like they're going to start up an early Drake. Perks TPing back to mid. The cannon barrage is up, so if Damwon want to contest this, it could be a 4v4.
Pressuring Showmaker right now. That's going to be the ultimate used up. Showmaker going to be forced away, holding onto that flash as long as he can. One more tick, the Q, the flash out, but
Canyon stole the dragon!
Canyon! We're going to need a replay of that one. In the meantime, the fight is now kicked off. Cannon barrage going in, but it's only level 4 for Sven, level 5 for Blabber. They do not have the hard CC they need to keep this fight going. Black shield on, DK simply walk away, and they might fish for the re-engage. Canyon, level 6. Initially, Binding goes a little bit wide, dodged out by Blabber. They're now backing away. C9 pushing forward slowly but surely. They've got Perks behind them, ready to back them up. Showmaker has no teleport. Beryl getting run down.
Flash.
Binding connects. Third auto will connect alongside the arrow, and that's going to be first blood for C9.
That's actually pretty big. They lost the dragon. I think Canyon must have blast coned over the wall because he still has his flash and smited it away from Blabber. I wonder if he actually leveled up from that and got to 6 and was able to turn the fight, but Perks moving down and Showmaker not having TP meant the Damwon had to run. They couldn't turn the fight, and first blood goes across to Cloud9. That's a really big win for them despite losing this dragon.
And we'll have to look back, of course, at how that exactly played out. Really surprised when we look mid. It looks like Showmaker's going down. Seems like everything is going good for C9 in that trade. And then, of course, Canyon just stealing the Drake away. As now Khan, he's not just going to let Canyon have all the fun counter jungling here. He's moving in, stealing Blabber's red buff. Blabber's still only level 5 in this game.
Might die here, though.
He's just going to get gnarred into the wall. 1, 2, 3. That's the wall up. An assist comes in for Zoe on the backside. Khan, clean invade.
Disaster for Blabber. Ever since the double crab, he's been a step behind. He loses the dragon, and now he loses his red buff and loses his life. Canyon's 2 levels up onto Blabber, and all Canyon's been doing is using his priorities to secure camps. Let's see here. Canyon is level 5. He blast cones over the wall with Predator, steals it away. I wonder if he levels up here as well, because then that means the team fight, they have to run away. He does level up, so Blabber has to run, and C9 think that they have to flash away and lose the fight, but Showmaker's in base. They have the cannon barrage like you talked about, Dracos, and because the key factor in Perks having that mid push and being there for the fight means Damwon have to run away. I think this recontest from them was kind of greedy.
The struggle, of course, for C9, though, Kadril, is they don't have a lot of ways to get fights kicked off. So you can see they have good damage if they can isolate a target, but even when Sven hits level 6, he might just end up trading his ultimate into a black shield. Cloud9, if Danwon Kia wants to come into them, maybe they can find a favorable fight, but proactively, they really lack a lot of tools.
Yeah, they do. The black shield negates a lot of the engage that C9 have alongside the chains of corruption, but the problem for C9 is you have no push in top. Khan can take away your red. You have no push in mid and no push in bot. That means Beryl can move from bot to mid, and Canyon can start up the Herald for free. The dragon's down. He's a level up on Blabber. Blabber's a step behind. That means he has to clear his camps to catch up, which gives Canyon free time to start the neutral. So steals away the dragon. Beryl's hovering around just in case C9 might want to contest his Herald. And Showmaker no flash means that C9, the only real way they can crack open the mid to bot is by taking Showmaker down and then unlocking the bot side of the map. But now Herald's gone. That's probably going to be used in the mid lane. And Damwon, even though the gold doesn't show it, they're very far ahead in this early game.
And it's concerning too, because obviously mid lane tower is important for any composition, but when you are playing against a Jhin, a Zoe, and a Morgana, mid lane tower is just about everything in the early game. Once that breaks down, it is easy access into the Cloud9 jungle for Danwon Kia, which means better vision, which means more long-range bubbles, more long-range bindings, more long-range Jhin snares. It will be brutal just to survive in the mid game for Cloud9 if they lose that mid lane tower.
Yeah, and Damwon are definitely focusing that objective. Khan has the top push. Barrels come back to bot so they can contest the bot push now. But Sven with that first blood, he is going towards the Serrated Dirk, towards the poke Varus. Maybe if they can get some good trades down here, they can relieve Perks, who's suffering a little bit. Blabber still 2 levels down. He must level up from his Raptor camp. No, he doesn't. So he's still level 6 at 10 minutes into the game. Then Canyon so far ahead right now in this early game.
And of course, we have to remember that for Cloud9, when you look back at them, if you listen to the interviews that they had, they're not a team that tilts or falls apart easily. They're a team that did not turn away when they started losing games to Liquid in the final. They stayed, they kept their eyes on the prize. But the question is, can that same level of focus come through? Because the international experience is not there for Cloud9. You can see already 35 across most of this ride of Khan, a very veteran player. We're going to have to hold that thought, though, as Barrel is going in. That's going to be the ulti follow-up. Now Barrel's going to be in trouble. He's going to get taken out. They're overstaying, and that's the C9 bot lane showing up clutch when they needed to.
Sven still has heal. This is what we talked about. They need to get some pressure in bot to relieve Perks, who's against Showmaker, playing so aggressive. Canyon's walking in his jungle, and he's getting a Herald on his tower, so this 2v2 kill is massive for C9. It gets Sven further ahead. The problem is they're too low to be able to move into the river. Vulcan had to base. The curtain call's coming out, but
Ghost had no vision, so he was just blind firing, hoping, because if he hit a single one, obviously Canyon could just follow up immediately, but they hit nothing, and you can see Sven absolutely fearless in this bottom lane.
Yeah, if he hit one of those shots and got vision, Canyon could have flashed over the wall, right? Sven has no flash from the 2v2, and C9, their win condition is on this bot side. Fudge with the cannon barrage is helping these 2v2s out a lot, and Damwon blunder on the bot side of the map again. Sven so far ahead on this Varus, you would argue, building towards that Mythic. I think when it comes to the next Dragon, he will be crucial in getting them chunked out before the fight starts. We see the replay. Looks like Barrel's the one who engages this, but they have the eat from Vulcan, and they have the Cannon Barrage.
Of course, level 7 for Ghost. Fourth shot goes in, but it doesn't really hit on Sven the way they want it to. An easy kill, an easy pickup. The Hail of Blades with a little bit of lethality is just so powerful at this stage in the game.
Yeah, and that's so crucial there, because what Damwon was going to do is push in mid and move towards bot again. You can see all the pressures on the mid bot side, but C9 starting up the Dragon again. TP's coming in from Showmaker. They don't have the Cannon Barrage, and both top laners have TP. It could
level
be a 5v5.
Canyon. Binding going to go down, the snare's not going to connect. Barrel going to flash in with the auto perks. The follow-up CC is there. Now moving in is the Zoe, but Vulcan says not today. Trouble Bubble will not connect, but Canyon in the midst of everybody, level 9, now looking to isolate Sven, but he just one-taps him! The damage is enough. The Kindred saves the day. Meanwhile, on the backside, Barrel now going in. Keep your eyes on Khan, keep your eyes on the Mega Gnar. He's got just enough time, but no, he can't find the ult. Perks takes down Barrel. Showmaker on the hunt, but he will not find the bubble. Cloud9 come out on top in the play.
How did they get away with that? It looked like all of Cloud9 was going to get ace there. The Mega Gnar coming in, they all flash out, but they managed to get some kills. They get 2 kills in total. Yes, they don't get the Drake, but C9, I thought they were wiped off the floor there. I thought DK was going to get the kills and the Dragon, but they kited out. Sven takes down Canyon, Barrel falls, and they managed to kite out this fight.
And when we look back at this Cager, we said mid-jungle is where we needed to watch. Blabber, he got demolished in the jungle, but the bot lane for Cloud9 is the factor that has turned this around. Sven and Vulcan have been so clean, Canyon so confident, so far ahead, but not strong enough to survive Sven.
Yeah, the Lamb's Respite keeps Blabber up just enough in time so he can hop over and get the Blast Cone. Barrel gets Blast Cone into Perks. Perks flashes away from the Mega Gnar, and they all managed to escape. Showmaker didn't land the bubble, the bindings didn't connect, and C9 get the kills they need to keep this game alive.
But Khan still again here, waiting in the darkness. And yes, Sven is strong, but Blabber remains in a difficult position. Damwon focusing, shutting down enemy jungler, making sure this Kindred cannot come ahead. It is such a tough position.
Yeah, really, really tough position. Blabber needs to farm up a little bit more to get back into the game. He's still a level down on Canyon, and it feels like Damwon control the river. And C9 are the ones finding windows to start the Dragon with numbers advantage. Start objectives, these small windows, but Damwon have pressure in all lanes. And C9 are managing the storm really well. If they can keep this up, maybe deny this Dragon, take it away for themselves, then they can slow the game down, because this is a Cloud Dragon. So the Soul is going to be Ocean or Infernal. Huge, huge team fight abilities, huge team fighting Soul. So if either team picks that up, it could be crucial.
And Namir S at Petra Canyon. I know that Damwon is the strongest one, but nothing is possible for Cloud9 to win the first match. Watch them, and I might not have been a believer, my friend, but amen. They are getting some work done on the map. Now, they're not out of hot water yet. Certainly, Damwon staying neck and neck in terms of the overall gold, even if Sven is quite strong, but a very tight matchup here in the early to mid game, despite Canyon's very favorable start.
Yep, really far in the jungle, still 2 levels up. They still have all the lanes pushed, and they are eventually going to get this top tower, which Khan has had pushed in all game. Managed to take away red buff, got vision for himself to keep himself self-sustained, and we expected the game to play out like this. We expected there to be a lot of mid-jungle bot side priority, and the top lanes to be weak side as Perks dodges away from the bindings. And I think when it gets to 2 to 3 items, C9 will start coming online. You can see the Merc Treads being built across the board. No Mythics complete just yet, but once they start completing them, C9 will have a lot of poke and a lot of teamfight tools with the GP, the Victor, and the Varus. The Jhin and Zoe, they only really have single target damage. They only really can keep up in the single target engages, whereas C9 have a lot of tools to work with in the teamfights.
Blabber just barely making it out on that. Good time on the hail of arrows there. Now, Khan moving in to break this. Of course, GP ult's coming in. TK also bringing in some backup as well. It's going to be 3 in the mid lane, rather. Kindred ult coming out, not quite able to gnar them out to safety, forcing early flashes. Cloud9, good value out of the Kindred ult, but very risky play.
That's one way to find an engage, using the Kindred and the Tahm.Kench ultimate to force the flash out of Khan, but this is the problem. Top push moves to mid, then they can start cracking open the mid tower with numbers advantage. Bot lane is late to the play, the tower falls, so although Damwon are losing out on the kills, the pushing lanes is helping them get the towers, and that's why they're ahead in gold still. But C9 are holding on. You can see Sven has picked up the Prowler score, so the mythics are being completed, and they just need a couple more items so that when the teamfights start, maybe look to chunk them out, poke them out, and use these massive teamfight ultimates around the dragon, because both teams have one dragon. The next dragon's up in 3 minutes, so the Soul is at least 18 minutes away.
And it does feel like the game is still very tight, still very closely contested, but as Damwon start to pull a little bit more ahead, as mid lane tower is now broken, something we highlighted earlier, very crucial. How many more of these picks start to go in the favor of Damwon? How many plays have we even seen this game where a single sidestep from Cloud9 is the only thing that separates them from life and death? Much harder when you don't have vision, much harder when you don't have reliable control of your own jungle. But for now, Cloud9 are trying to control the terrain, control the battlefield by laying down some vision around this dragon, by securing the Scuttlecraft for Blabber, making sure that he can at least get out of the deficit.
Yeah, C9 weathering the storm, and Sven and Vulcan have been a key driving factor behind that. We saw them in the LCS as very strong bot lane, self-sufficient in the lane, and Damwon's bot lane statistically kind of behind in a sense. They weren't super far ahead in CS, even though they were such a dominant team. It mostly came from the top side of the map, so C9 exploiting what you could argue is a weakness for Damwon. But Damwon still have full map control right now.
And Damwon, of course, still an incredibly dominant game, and Ghost and Beryl still a very solid bot lane. But you're right, they have been known to have those hiccups. You heard it from Wadid on the desk. You saw it if you watched the finals as well. Send a Tahm.Kench game, you've got Ghost wandering to gank lanes, giving up his life. So while the team is mostly very clean, mostly very consistent, if you had to point at one area where it has a little bit more inconsistency, it would be the Damwon Kia bottom lane. 0-3-0 the score for Beryl. 3 of the 4 deaths on the side of Damwon Kia. And Cloud9 trying to fight back at least a little bit, pushing up their vision line into enemy territory. Showmaker just scouting into the fog.
Yeah, an interesting setup from Cloud9. They've gone for a 1-3-1 to keep the lanes pushed as much as possible as Blabber finds Ghost.
Gale Force now comes out. TK on the way. They need to pull back, though. Canyon is there with the Black Shield to stop any potential follow-up. But Cloud9 looking for picks. Binding is going to go in. Vulcan will sidestep. Meanwhile, on the top lane, Khan goes in. Stridebreaker right into the wall. Fudge going to quickly get out of that one, or just make it all okay.
Yeah.
The Beryl there to clear the wave as well.
Good reaction there, but you can see the pressure Damwon have. C9 tried to find windows to make a play. They managed to get Ghost, but the heal on the Gale Force keeps them alive. C9, what they have going for them now is they have the bot push, and they have the mid push. They've swapped up the lanes. They put Sven and Vulcan into the mid lane to deal with Showmaker, and now Showmaker's the one saying, okay, you guys match them. I want to go to bot side. So Perks, Sven, Vulcan keeping the mid bot side pushed out while Blabber keeps farming. Still 2 levels down, but he's recovering slowly. The Dragon's up in 50 seconds. Both top laners have TP. You can see Khan's already basing. And Damwon's next objective is this bot tier 1. So you're going to see them contest mid to bot. Maybe Khan runs out of base to mid to help his team. And there might be a dragon fight on the cards in the next minute or so.
Showmaker set to take this tower. And while it is only 1 Drake apiece, Ocean Soul, pretty impossible to win against if you're playing against a poke composition. And they do manage to secure it at the same time. If you were the one getting poked, it also helps out a lot. So Ocean Soul about the most favorable role for both sides here.
Yeah, and Damwon have so many resources. Not so much the gold, but they have the pushing lanes. The pushing mid, they have the Herald to use whenever they want onto a tier 2 tower. They have all the vision on the bot side of the map. Khan has the priority top, so he's grouping as well. So C9, even though the gold's only around 1,000 deficit, the amount of resources Damwon have in other respective roles is dangerous as Perks gets chunked out a little bit there. Has to use the Chaos Storm.
Trouble Bubble into the binding, a clean combo there, finally connecting, but not quite enough burst damage in that exchange. 5 minutes from now, another half an item comes through. That's going to be a very different story, however.
Perk's gonna base and TP back. C9 playing through bot here. They have the push in bot. They don't have the push in mid. Let's put Fudge from top to mid, and let's play 4-man into bot side. Maybe we can contest this dragon. Showmaker's been poked out a little bit already. Perks has the TP. Here he comes. The dragon's up.
Perks can come in, and Khan, Mega Gnar, not ideally timed. He's going to have 15 seconds before he can even start to stack that Rage again. Just now turning into Mini. Maybe Cloud9 feel like they can force this fight. TP coming in on the Herald from Showmaker.
Ready to push in. Pressure in the mid lane, though. If Dan1 Kia just keep Cloud9 here, that Herald will crash into mid. Meantime, Beryl getting chunked out. C9 now backing away, looking to finish this one. Canyon not even going to walk up to contest. That is the Dragon to Cloud9, but here comes the curtain call. Fudge now going to be in trouble. Lamb's Respite blocking any follow-up damage for now. The rest of Cloud9 now on the retreat. They got the objective they came for. They need to get out. That Herald is still working in the mid lane. Fudge flashing to safety. Dan1 Kia steadily pushing forward. They are a juggernaut. They will not be stopped, but they may not find any kills. Herald continues down the mid lane. Breaks mid tier 2, moving on to the inhibitor tower. Dan1 Kia trading the Drake for a tower and a half.
C9 get out of the fight again. They used all their ultimates and zoning tools to secure the Dragon, but at what cost? Dan1 have the pushing lanes again. They move bot, they get the tier 1. The tier 2 fell during the fight, and C9 are losing more than they're gaining, but they're slowing the game down. That's the key thing here. Perks.
Follow up. Tom Kench now coming in. Are they going to be able to finish it before Vulcan get in the area? Perks now stepping forward, ready to match Ghost here. A lot of confidence coming in. Vulcan there to back him up.
Yeah, forces Ghost flash. Perks doesn't even hesitate there. Keeps the flash. Vulcan uses the Abyssal Voyage to get in, but the key thing here is the Dragon slow down the game. C9 can keep wave clearing. Damwon's Nash is not that fast with Zoe Jin, so maybe they think trading these neutral objectives for the Dragon and losing gold for it is how they slow the game down, get the Victor Varus to 3 items, and then we can start to contest the team fights and use these ultimates more aggressively.
Vulcan, though, maybe caught out here. The immediate cleanse. Follow-up CC not quite there. And Cadril, it's good that you call it out because ultimately, Dan1 Kia had the Herald. They could use it at some point. It had to be used. So for Cloud9, inevitably, there was going to be a pressure point on the map. The fact that they get the Drake, not too bad. Overall, though, still a 2k gold deficit. Showmaker and Canyon are still terrifying. They are about to be able to start one-shotting anyone on the Cloud9 backline, while Khan might just look for the solo bolo here. Perfect layering of the CC from downtown. Ghost is the backup, and Fudge, essentially a solo kill up against Khan.
This is the problem when you lose your towers and the waves are pushed in. You can't greed for these buffs. As we hang on here, Blabber's getting engaged on.
Follow up, Vulcan, not sure who he needs to devour. He's pulling back Sven. Sven gonna throw out the ult, try to disengage with barrels in the midst of the entire team. Dan1 Kia gonna find the shutdown. Perks off to the side. The gravity field not enough to stop the coming storm. Dan1 Kia moving into mid lane, ready to break down this inhibitor. Perk's gonna do his best to clear the wave, but Dan1 coming out on top again.
They might look for Baron here. 30 seconds on the bot lane of C9. Fudge has the TP and the cannon barrage in 15 seconds. Dan1's Baron is quite slow, so this could be a bit risky. If Perks can get there with the Chaos Storm, maybe they can get the cannon barrage in. Blabber's coming out of base. Maybe he can look for the steal with the Lamb's Respite. This could be dangerous for him, Dan1, but it looks like they have the vision to pull it off.
Full confidence, 22-minute Baron. Perks on the way in, as you said, ultimate up and ready. Here comes the cannon barrage. So far, it's that cooldown for free. Dan1 of course going to be forced to reset. Maybe a small moment where Cloud9 can try to get some more pressure on the map.
And this is the key thing. Dan1's Baron is slow. Yes, C9 lose a couple of members, but the gold hasn't grown too much. C9 are slowly weathering the storm. They've slowed down the Dragons. They're going to keep contesting the vision around Baron to keep their jungle warded up, to make sure they can slow it down. They have the tools to slow it down. And although Dan1 get the fight, they don't decide to push in. They try the Baron, and in the end, they lose out. They lost their tempo, they lost their lead in terms of having the time on the map, and now they have to contest the vision around C9 again.
Dragon now 2 minutes away. Bubble gonna go wide. And Cadril, while Cloud9 certainly are fighting it back, it still feels like Dan1 continue to pull out further and further ahead, just slowly but surely building these massive advantages. Khan now on the chase. 4 members stacked up here. This could be a massive Meganar if he wants to go for the hop. The flash forward, he's going to hit 2 to the wall. Khan, the immediate follow-up. Lamb's Rise Fight, it's going to buy a few seconds, but it will not save the lives of C9. Dan1 are here, and they are not to be trifled with. Sven on the backside, maybe, just maybe, the lethality bars can turn it, but no. Beryl shutting him down, locking him up, stopping him from getting anything else. The chain CC simply too much, but Vulcan is there to body block. Vulcan is there to save his AD carry. Not enough to save the fight.
C9 are being greedy. They're walking out their base too much. Dan1 have taken almost all of the tier 2s as well. They're mid tier 2s down. C9 don't have anything to fall back to. They tried to run to their base gate, but at 23 minutes in the game when Dan1 have so much control, they can chase him down. You can see Khan on the Gnar chasing him down. Ghost using the Ws across the map. The poke coming in. C9, I think this Baron might fall, but Vulcan's using the Abyssal Voyage. He might try to get Sven in there. Sven, poke Varus. Maybe he can steal it if they get some kind of vision, but C9 need to find this to hold on.
Without Varus, the powered Q.
Maybe you can find
Maybe, maybe. The timing's not going to be quite right, though. Devour comes out, 3K, getting lower and lower. He doesn't have any skills left. He has to flash out to safety. That's going to be the Nash over to the side of Dan1 Kia. Cloud9, a valiant effort, but will not be able to steal it away.
That might be the nail in the coffin for Cloud9. They've been dodging and diving away from Dan1 to get these new objectives to slow the game down, but now when they have the Zoe, the Jhin, and the Gnar with the Baron buff, the siege is going to be deadly. But Fudge is really deep here. The Blue Orb spotting him out, and Khan can chase him down in this matchup. He's so far ahead on the Gnar with the Stridebreaker. Sidesteps the barrel there, which was crucial, and then gets the Mega Gnar just in time for when C9 think they can help him out. And Dan1 Damwon have the vision to contest this. Damwon's all collapsing down, and Khan's engage was crucial.
And the follow-up CC here from Dan1Kia is just so
Canyon.
impressive. The flash over the wall, the immediate follow-up with the Morgana ultimate, Binding coming out as well. Sven tries to fire back, but hey, look, Barrel's cooldowns are up one more time. Now Showmaker's coming in. Now Ghost is coming in. The amount of CC on this team is so oppressive. If you start to lose a fight against Dan1Kia, they are just going to keep beating you in that fight.
Yeah, and the majority of the time, C9 were able to kite away and get out of the fight before losing members, but Canyon solidifies it by flashing over the wall and getting the fight going and secures the members down.
And how confident are Dan1Kia? Can they use this Red Bull Baron power play just to end the game? Sleepy Trouble Bubble continues to connect, and the thing is, as more items stack on the Dan1Kia side and no resistance items outside of those Merc Treads are coming through for the side of C9, they are incredibly vulnerable to the Zoe, to the Morgana, even to the Jhin from these long-range engages.
There's a bubble into a binding. Eat is forced, and now Damwon can start to push forwards. They're playing a 4-1 with Zoe in mid, so Showmaker just kind of poking them from the side, trying to hit down this mid-inhib, waiting for the waves. And Damwon, they're playing on 2 lanes. C9, they have the wave clear to be able to deal with it, but the bubbles and the bindings are what's going to hurt them the most.
Showmaker going over the wall. Cloud9 just cannot start a fight. GP Ultimate is the big tool that they use, but if they misuse it, Dan1Kia have free reign over their entire base. So instead of fighting right now, they're just trying to weather the storm as best as they can. Baron buff is here. One inhibitor will most certainly drop. With only 1 minute left, can Cloud9 hold on to the rest of their base?
Khan has Meganar now, and he's on the side. If C9 want to defend this tower, they're all going to be grouped up. That's why Khan's threatening with the Meganar and DK. They can walk up and start hitting this tower. Perks trying to get the wave clear going. He's stepping up. He has the Eats behind him, so he can afford to do this. But slowly and surely, Damwon are going to poke down this tower.
Good sidestep on the snare there from Perks on the Jhin. Buying as much time as he can up against Ghost and the rest of this team. Strength of his control mage as opposed to Zoe. Just has this infinite wave clear. That said, not enough against the Baron-empowered creeps. Ghost moving in. 2 shots, last shot remaining. Ready to use it on an inhibitor if necessary. And sadly, Cloud9 just getting forced back. They have no room to fight.
Showmaker went out of mana in the poke. He went down to blue buff to collect it from Canyon, I believe. Now he's back with the blue buff, so the poke's coming in. The Leona ult comes out. I don't think they found the engage, though.
Follow up on the Sven. Vulcan holding onto Devour. Keep your eyes on that cooldown. He's going to stop the barrel engage for now. Cloud9 need to be ready to turn here. They may have to wait for the Tahm Kench Devour to be up again before they try anything. Perks, is he ready to commit the ult here? But here comes Khan again. 3 into the wall. GP ult, the immediate follow-up. Now the Kindred ult coming in. Cloud9 buying a bit of time, but do they have the damage to turn this fight? They're surviving. They're holding on. Canyon goes golden, but he's in the midst of the base. It's still 2 towers up. Ghost moving in, but Perks holding on for dear life. Not nearly enough. Fudge and Vulcan, the last 2 members standing, but Dan1Kia moving through the base, moving around the Nexus, and taking out each and every member of Cloud9. Cloud9 was a valiant effort in the early game, and while Fudge will find 1 kill back, Dan1Kia will close this game out with confidence. Ghost stepping forward, Showmaker unafraid. Dan1Kia looking for their first win at the MSI 2021 group stage, and they're going to do it in style from downtown with a long-range composition. Danwon will take the win.
Such clean execution. You could see it from every single fight. Damwon were pushing C9 back, and in the end, with the Baron buff, C9 had nowhere to run to. They were pushed all the way into their base gates, into the Nexus, and Damwon found the fight, cleaned them up, and ended the game. Around 27-minute game, and as soon as Baron fell and Damwon got that Baron with Zoe, with Na, with Leona, they can almost find the engage whenever they want. The Meganar's on the side. Leona can just pop her ultimate to make them back off, and C9 had nowhere to run to. They had to stand their ground, and in the end, Damwon, too much firepower.
Way too much firepower, way too much long-range CC. Dan1Kia coming in with a good read on what would work for them in the meta. And while it was a good look for Cloud9, the lethality Varus on the bottom side, looking like a solid first pick, won them out the bot lane pretty handedly on a lot of those exchanges. It was not enough as they moved towards the mid-game, and I mean, Dan1Kia, it's... You look at a game like that, and from the outside, you see, ooh, little glimmers of hope for Cloud9 here, little glimmer of hope here, but Dan1Kia just so oppressive, choking you out of that game, getting a little bit of vision, finding a pick here, finding a fight there, and it started as a 1K gold lead, and it just kept growing for Dan1Kia over the course of the entire game.
Yeah, and you can look at gold as one of the resources that Damwon had for the majority of those 15 to 20 minutes, but I think the pushing lanes was the most important one. When you have pushing lanes, you have to show on the lanes when you want to contest jungle vision, which means they have full vision on you most of the time, so they can choose the fights, and your windows are so small. That's why you saw C9 walk into River, trying to find something and getting caught out, and in the end, they got the ace and they got the Baron.
Now, at the end of the day, I feel like it was a solid performance from Cloud9 and from the LCS, but if you're an LCS fan and you're feeling a little sad, don't worry, because drops and watch rewards are returning to lolesports.com. Fans can, of course, get in-game content, exclusive emotes and icons, and partner loot by watching live MSI games at watch.lolesports.com. I know I'm signing up right after this. And after the break, we'll take a closer look at the opening game as Dan1Kia kicked off MSI with a win.
Lovely, lovely.
Dear me, I just wanted to tell you that soon, everything you know will change. You're part of the breakout, part of an elite group of individuals that launched a global movement. The pioneers that changed the sole definition of a gamer. I'm you, from the future, and I just wanted to tell you that your future will be legendary. This is for you, gamer. Exceed the game. Unleash the future.
You don't have a chance against me. I can calculate 19 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back, everyone, to the State Farm Analyst Desk. Damwon Kia came out on top after a dominant mid-game and started their MSI run with a win over Cloud9. We had so much to say about what we could see on 11.9, and the draft, I think, delivered. Let's just first get the biggest takeaways we did when you saw the draft from both teams and what they decided to go for. Who would you say won the draft?
I feel like Cloud9 did more tournament draft, and Damwon Kia's draft seems a little cocky against Cloud9 here, because like I don't see their safety or any late game part from their team comp. So it was pretty interesting to see.
What about the early prio on the Morgana specifically?
I mean, yeah, I think that one of the risks that you have with a Morgana blinding it early is that there are champions that can mitigate what a Morgana does. Tahm Kench being one of the obvious ones, and you may have noticed from this draft, Tahm Kench gets a lot of value when playing against a composition like this, along with Merc Treads, as the cast has highlighted. And I think that what Cloud9 drafted with things like the Kindred to mitigate a lot of the potential AoE damage burst. I also think that Gangplank can make life hard for champions like Jhin and Zoe. And I very much agree with Wadid that not only do I think that Cloud9 had good scaling, they also had lanes that they could easily play around as well. And we saw that in the bot lane 2 versus 2 during the game as well. So I was a big fan of C9's draft, and I was kind of like quite optimistic, especially with what we saw and what we saw in the early game.
So let's talk then about one thing we spoke about so much in Countdown, being the jungle mid synergy, and specifically the early matchup of Blabber versus Canyon. Can you paint me a picture of what Kindred and Morgana do and are able to do usually in an early game, and what transpired here?
Well, typically what we normally see is full clears from across the board, right? We didn't see a huge amount of early game action. That was kind of what was to be expected. I think one of the biggest things, though, was the fact that Canyon was able to get the double Scuttle Crab very early on, but also Showmaker had consistent push in the Zoe to Victor matchup, which is typically what you expect as well. And the way in which they utilized that was Canyon was then able to look at the early bot sides to force Sven and Vulcan back very early on. And the way in which Canyon used the early pressure that he had felt like that he was slowly building advantage over advantage over advantage versus Blabber. And you could see in the early game that that CS discrepancy, level discrepancy got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, we saw that happen, and those numbers going up, and seeing the objectives go the way of Canyon. He even stole that dragon, right, when nobody was really looking. How did you think Blabber dealt with it, and how much do you think the work that Canyon did laid the groundwork for what Damwon would be able to do later?
I don't think it was like Canyon versus Blabber. It was more like other players from Damwon Kia played so much better, because at the end, as you saw, Cloud9's bot lane was just smashing Damwon Kia's bot lane. But for the Vedu set, for the first double scuttle, they made insane skirmishy ollie. So that made a Morgana advantage in the early game. And also, Khan just went into the red side and just solo kills Kindred. And I think it was just a team difference. It was not about like a jungler's difference.
Okay, I think that's a wonderful observation. Also, as you said already, yes, they had pressure down in the bottom lane. Sven and Vulcan were actually doing a phenomenal job. But if I had to summarize it, it almost looked like C9 were getting the kills, but Damwon was getting everything else. How exactly did they do that?
I think that what was just really great was how they were consistently managing their waves. And as we did with highlighting, Khan used his pressure extremely well. He was able to steal away the red buff. He was able to get top tower first. After getting top tower, he transitioned down to mid lane, helped secure mid tower. And like you could see him just manipulating waves on a side just so effectively and using his pressure over Fudge. And just honestly how much better he was playing than Fudge in this game to perfection. And that was just allowing Damwon to use the constant wave pressure that they had to move into the jungle, keep stealing things away, and even with down and kills, they kept that gold advantage.
As we look at this 21-minute fight in the mid lane where Damwon was able to push Wadid, this is kind of a typical example of a game that makes you scared for what Damwon can do, right? That they don't even need that much that meets the eye, but they're still doing so much on the map that allows them to push. This is, of course, the Khan outplay. He doesn't need no teammates.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that this is really where things started to open up in the game specifically, because Khan opened up with that solo kill on the Fudge, and then this set us up for the fight in the mid lane, which is really where the game started to break apart for Cloud9. They were kind of losing objectives. They still had the potential late game. They still had the dragon control as well. But unfortunately, the moment that this fight went down, the gold gap started to get too big. Baron then also unlocked for Damwon as well, and they needed to kind of snowball ahead in the early game. And I think that largely off the back of Canyon and Khan, along with the pressure that Showmaker was able to put in mid, they were able to do just that.
The Oppo player of the game in this one was Khan, and I think that's incredibly interesting because he was such a big story and focal point going into this year for Damwon, but also for MSI. We were on Discord talking about the game, and you just typed, "Whoa, Khan!" Tell me what you thought about his performance.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Damwon Kia's team comp was not about late game. So, I mean, when they failed to snowball early game against Cloud9 in some fights, I was like so worried, you know, because their team comp doesn't support their late game. But they have Khan. It doesn't matter. He pushes side lanes and he always moves first. He always winning the side lane split push. And also he comes to the team fight and just gnar everyone. So like, it's just so easy to play with him, no?
Yeah, he's the Oppo player of the game here. Fun fact is that after the LCK finals, he was also the MVP, but he split the prize money with everyone else on the team because he thought it was a team effort, something his old teammate Prey used to do as well. But I think this is one of the cases where we can see that he really did so much for Damwon by himself in the late game. And it's, I think, the only thing that people could almost take away from Damwon. Will it be as good as Nagari? It doesn't have to be. It's different, but it works for what they want to do.
And I think we saw the style that they wanted, which was slow, controlled, and it's what Woodid was talking about. The addition of Khan means that like you have slightly less volatility, slightly more reliability. And does that mean that potentially Damwon's ceiling isn't as high as it was? Maybe you could have that argument, but does it give way more consistency? Like, yes, it certainly does. And I think that this game is a perfect example of what Khan can do, even when he doesn't get that many resources. He is just a phenomenal player, and I think that he showcased it already on day one.
Yeah, a win for Damwon. Back to the drawing board for Cloud9. And after the break, it's time for Game 2 as Detonation Focus Me take on Gillette Infinity. Don't go anywhere.
Here we go. Game 2. We saw Detonation Focus Me, or rather Cloud9 versus Danwon Kia. Now we get to watch Detonation Focus Me. And if you are a fan of the LJL, you may remember and notice this international ritual. Saros used to do it as well. The perfect measurement, the flawless accuracy that one must have their mouse and keyboard positioned. You wonder why you suck at League? You didn't measure right, folks. That's the secret to success.
It's kind of true. I did the same thing when I was a pro. No, seriously, when you have the comfort of your home or your office or wherever you play from a daily basis, going on stage, you want to make sure everything is perfect. Even the slightest push of the keyboard or mouse doesn't feel too good or in the right spots, your arm angle, yeah, everything has to be pretty much perfect, these players. That's why lots of them bring like towels just in case they have sweaty hands, or they have like measuring tapes, all these things.
Perfect is the bottom line. Of course, we are getting introduced to 2 teams you may have not seen before. Let's kick off with Detonation Focus Me. The team, of course, one of the historically most successful teams, the most successful team in the LJL. Not quite the sole representative, but just about outside of a Rampage representation. And a V3, that's Evie in the top lane, Steel in the jungle, Arya in the mid lane, Yutapon AD carry, and Kazu on support. Now, one big thing to note here, if you've watched the LJL in the past, Saros, their mid laner, the Heimerdinger legend, the GP Pentakill King, is on the bench this time around. He's a sub mid laner. So Arya, coming in, big shoes to fill, big expectations, but what we've seen from the domestic season shows that he is a pretty powerful laner, and from what you've seen in solo queue, Kedro, it looks like he might be a bit of a powerhouse.
Yeah, definitely in the LGL, kind of a safe mid laner. He almost has like a 10 KDA over so many games, which is shocking to me. I've been watching a lot of his solo queue games. I'm a big Arya fan, a big Arya Steel fan. I think this mid jungle is the core of this team. The strongest members on the team, I think, are Steel and Arya and Steel popping off in EU solo queue, I must say. Obviously, I haven't seen their scrims, but that's definitely what I'm looking at in this team to get the ball rolling, because as we've seen in the meta, things like Morgana, Rumble, these aggressive junglers, AP junglers that want to get ahead and look for side lane dives, that's what I'm looking at, and that's the key for this team, I think.
But one thing that we learned last game is that bot lane certainly can also be a powerhouse from what we saw from Sven on Lethality Varus. The question is, of course, is that something that Yutapon wants to bring to the table? One of the most veteran players on the stage has been with Detonation Focus Me just about forever, and he's going to be going up against the opposite side, Infinity Esports, White Lotus. This is a man... Gillette Infinity, rather. This is a man who has been around. I remember back in plans when he was playing for Lion, I thought this guy was going to take down Sneaky. He is a legend in his own right. 2 of the strongest respective AD carries from each of their regions, and he also has a bit of rookie talent backing him up.
Yeah, Gillette Infinity, we got Booga X, Solid Snake, Cody in the mid lane, White Lotus, the AD carry we've been talking about, and their support, Ackerman, who won Outstanding Rookie, I believe. He was the key for this team in the sense that he was the rookie, bringing all this aggression to the team, moving up the top side with Solid Snake, who likes to get the ball rolling. And I think the key for both these teams that I've seen is both these teams are really scrappy. They like to fight, they like to dive. When I was watching the finals, I think that the Infinity was diving so much, they reverse swept it. They look for so many mid dives, so many aggressive dives with things like Volibear. So I'm excited to see how they perform. But on the other side of the map, Detonation Focus Me, also a very explosive and aggressive team. And I think that if you look at both of these teams in Group C, with Cloud9 and Damwon in their group as the favorites, you'd argue, to get out. Top 2 gets out of the groups, obviously in round 1. They have to topple each other, you must say, in a way, right? Detonation Focus Me and Gillette Infinity have to make sure that they're one step above their opponent to make sure they can start contesting either Cloud9 or Damwon to contest to get out of the group.
And you know, in MSI, you see it every time we come back from break, the impossible possible. MSI has been a tournament full of upsets as long as it has been around. Now, the question is, can one of these teams upset a Cloud9 or Danwon Kia? Now, Danwon Kia feeling pretty far removed, but a single win over a team like Cloud9 can cement your path to victory to making it out of this group. But before you can even have that conversation, you have to 2-0. You have to find the wins against your opposition here. If Infinity cannot beat Detonation Focus Me, if Detonation Focus Me cannot beat Infinity, whichever team loses out here feels like a death sentence in this group.
Yeah, and it's all on paper, right? These are the expectations set on these teams. Now, I'm a big DFM fan from looking at their games. I was a fan of V3 last year in the Worlds for the LGL. I think this team, this region has strong players. I think they're very aggressive, very talented mechanically in team fights. So that's what I'm excited to see from the side of Detonation Focus Me. But you're completely right. They have to topple their opponent. They have to make sure they're definitely cemented at least the 3rd best and they take down the 4th handily so that when they go against teams like Cloud9 and Damwon, they can contest to get out of the group.
Oh, and Kajal. After last game, I mean, you heard it from Wadid on the desk, like, the Damwon draft was a little disrespectful.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I still loved it. I loved the sheer amount of CC, the sheer amount of poke. It looked miserable to play against. And I wonder, now that, as you've said, we have 2 teams who want to fight, 2 teams who want to force when it comes to objectives, when it comes to fights, when it comes to finding leads. I want to see how explosive the meta can get. Because Morgana can be explosive when you have Predator and you're flashing over a wall, but for the most part, she sits back, she throws a binding, she sees what happens. What happens if we get a rumble through the draft? What happens if some of these more aggressive champions come into the mix?
And that's the key thing, because I think if you look at especially the jungle role on previous patches, in the finals, in the semis of all of these regions, we've seen Hecarim, Udyr, Olaf, Lilia, Resident Sleeper, right? But now we've got the Pogs, we've got Morgana, we've got Rumble, we've got Rumblelords, we've got Kiana, we've got Tristana mids, all these exciting picks. So these teams have needed to adapt, and mid jungle is where you need to adapt. And if you look at the side of Infinity, I think Cody is almost to me like a control mage one trick in a sense. I mean, you look at his top play, he has like Zoe, Azir, Syndra, Orianna, especially Zoe, I must say, almost like a one trick.
I mean, it was banned against him every game in the finals for good reason. He is the Zoe king in Latin America.
Exactly. So you have, I mean, we saw last game, Showmaker on the Zoe was popping off, right? So it still could be a good pick, but can he play aggressive laners? Maybe things like the Lucian, the Kiana, and the Tristana, which we've actually seen out of Arya. He's been playing things like Akali, Kiana, Kassadin, Ryze, Lucian, these aggressive side laners, which are the key thing. I think 1-3-1 is quite powerful in this meta with a strong mid jungle. You snowball to sides, and then you get into the 1-3-1. Push out sides like we saw Khan do last game, collapse in mid, and then start the team fight. So we'll have to see how these teams have adapted coming in to MSI.
Yeah, and I think inevitably, if you're looking on the side of Infinity, Gillette, I'm not going to say it all comes down to one man, but sometimes it does feel like it. If you look back to the finals, the Senna Tom Kench, not what you want to see this player on. White Lotus, king of the carries. 8 games, of course, on the Kai'Sa, 6 on the Xayah. This man likes a little bit of self-peel. This man likes the ability to put out damage in a fight. We're not going to see any Jins this time around. It is going to be about a champion that can scrap.
Yeah, and look at their supports next to them as well. You know, you got Ackerman and Kazu. Both of these players play engaged supports. Although it's the meta, this is what they want to do. They want to get Rel, they want to get Alistar, they want to get Thresh, Alistar, Rakan, these champs. Push out their lane, maybe get one wave of prio, look to roam mid, look to roam top with their jungler, and start snowballing the game. Although that's kind of meta, these two definitely prefer this more than going for things like perhaps a Tahm Kench to neutralize a lane, or even things like a Morgana to neutralize lane, a Galio. They want to go engage supports rather than defensive counter-engage supports. So both these bot lanes are what we want to focus on. I think there is a key, as well as the mid-jungle for the side of the FM.
And of course, in that sense, Kazu is a big question. Kazu, of course, formerly on the support staff of this team, has subbed in. They are waiting for one of the residency periods to work out for one of their Korean pros, Steel and Arya, both Korean. They also have Gang, normally their support player, sitting on the bench while they wait for this to work out. So moving forward, you're going to see 3 Koreans on this LJL lineup, but for now, Kazu's subbing in, and he's had a solid split. Of course, they won out. He is overall a very solid player, but when you look at his champion pool, there is not a single defensive support to be seen. As you mentioned already, frankly, I love his set. I love anytime. I saw it life in the LCK. I saw it from Kazu in the LJL. I love me some set support. Is it good? I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. It does cool stuff.
Yeah, and where we focus on, especially like last game, we're focusing on mid-jungle. We want to see the moves, and although that did happen, I think the carry from the last game was Khan on the top lane. You know, when you have that top pressure and you have the Gnar that can move into the jungle and solo kill the enemy jungler, it really negates the mid-jungle synergy, right? If you get your jungler and mid are on an even footing, then obviously there's a lot of contesting around the river. But if one side laner is ahead, like we saw Khan on the Gnar, having perma push, getting perma vision in the enemy jungle, it just puts your jungler a step behind, which means that the enemy mid jungle can take over and they get a lot more freedom on the map. So both these players really like Gnar, EVI and Bugha X, they really, really like Gnar. So if this kind of thing happens similar to last game, then I think their mid jungle are going to struggle.
Yeah, and does Gnar continue to be super popular? It's been hit, it's been nerfed repeatedly over the last few patches. So is that still going to be the big priority? Is there something from the top lane meta that we have not seen yet?
I'm just excited to see the games progress, right? I'm just excited to see how the meta progress, and excited to see how the groups progress.
I mean, I think it's a good call, and I think one thing that you should consider at home, and something that we consider all the time, when it comes, international comparison is really hard. You also have to think about the competition that they're going up with. So for a lot of these teams, well, similar to what we saw in the Daewon Kia, you saw in LCS finals, Fudge weathered the Alphari storm incredibly well. Blabber backed him up. He couldn't do the same against Khan. And so while we look at these teams and we see so many individual players from both the side of Gillette Infinity, as well as from Detonation Focus Me, there may end up being just a skill difference in lane that becomes unbeatable. So that's something we're going to have to track. We can set expectations for bot lane. We can talk about jungle. We can talk about the most important players, but that's based on what they did domestically. So much changes with the patch changes, so much changes with the competition when you set foot on the MSI stage.
Yeah, and I think both these regions, international events, they've never really made it to the main event, their main group stage, right? And all this is round one, similar to planes, which have meshed well with the major regions, almost like kind of counteracting the planes so everyone's together. If they can get out of this group, one of these teams, that's an insane stepping stone, because you've got LCS and you've got LCK in the same group as you. If you can do that as a wildcard region, take them down, that's a staple coming into round 2 of MSI.
I mean, that's massive. That's career defining. You look back to 2016 and ANX, that's that was it. They made their name off that. The LCL has been a threat to be reckoned with ever since. You know, you always give respect to teams like the Unicorns of Love, partially because of what Albus Nox Luna was able to achieve in 2016. Knocking a team like G2, the European favorite, out in groups was a crazy, crazy achievement. Of course, it's still a long way off. It's only these teams' first games, but it's always something that has to be in the back of these players' minds. I think every player who doesn't expect to win the tournament says, hey, we're going to international tournaments just to get some experience, just to learn, just to show what we're made of. But I think in the back of every player's head, you have to know that they're thinking, but what if we do it? What if we win?
The what if is so amazing to me in international events. You think of Kaboom. You think of the EDG loss as well. You think of the INTZ taking down. There's so many like wildcard regions or just minor regions making huge upsets on the international stage. And one of these two teams could be one of those teams in a group with Cloud9 and Damwon.
Here we go, Cadril. Gillette Infinity, Detonation Focus Me. We are heading into picks and bans. Oh, and so many meta questions are going to get answered over the course of today. And so many of them might change by tomorrow.
There we go. We're into picks and bans. And now the priority is a question mark for me because to me, it seems like Rumble is the strongest champion in the game right now. It seems like the most first pick worthy champion. And Lee Sin again banned on blue side. So that basically tells me that Lee Sin is stronger on red side than blue side. That could be because of the flex on solo lanes. And then when you blind pick your top or mid, he goes into either of them. Whereas on blue side, first pick Lee Sin can get countered. I mean, in top lane, just off the top of my head, maybe Poppy lane could be quite difficult for Lee Sin, something like this. And any kind of mid laner that can contest the push when he does max that E. But the bans are coming out. Morgana taken away. We saw that first pick the last game. For the side of Damwon Gaming, Zoe taken away from Cody, like we expected. Almost like a one trick at this point. Banned away from him in the finals. And Lee Sin taken off the board. And there goes the Thresh, which supports the Jinx Aphelios.
Yeah, and naturally, of course, the follow-up question is, what does Cody go to next, as the Rumble has also been banned away? Nidalee was the other premier jungler taken off the board. I have a feeling that was mostly for Canyon, though. Very few players internationally who really can make their mark on the Nidalee pick. Canyon and Blabber, two of them. See what Solid Snake and Steel want to go for. It was so long in the Chem Tank meta, Cadril, that it's hard to know what to expect from so many of these junglers when they have to get back to playing champions that don't just kind of mash an item active and go in.
Yeah, definitely. The mashing item, the base damage was way too high from those champions. We'll have to see what the first pick is. This Thresh ban kind of suggests to me that maybe DFM want to first rotate something like an Alistar. We'll have to see how that progresses. But the first pick priority will be interesting to me as well, because most of the OPs that we saw first picked, like the Morgana, Rumble, the Zoe's taken out, and it's an Udyr.
It's an Udyr. All right, well, Chem Tank took a hit, but Udyr, of course, still a very powerful champion, still has an incredibly fast clear speed, can be a nuisance in the early game. And for Solid Snake, not a bad look, allows him to set up some of his lanes for success, most certainly. But now, DFM debating here. And for Ebby, it's going to be a Renekton. Now, internationally, this has been a flex pick into mid, mostly exclusively for Showmaker, but perhaps it's something that DFM are willing to try out.
Now, will Steel go for Nidalee or Lilia? I mean, he needs to go for an AP jungler here if he's pairing it with the Renekton. Or they can pick up the Kai'Sa, which is both of these AD carries bread and butter. White Lotus and Utapon, most played Kai'Sa, both sides, and definitely comfort for either of these players.
And interestingly as well, because both supports also love the Rel. So are they willing to just lock in the Rel here for Ackerman to take it away? The Kai'Sa Rel combo, yes, not as prevalent when we've been thinking about the Rumbles and the Lee Sins and all the exciting new picks, but the old classics are certainly still very powerful.
Yeah, and Kai'Sa pairs really well with all the engaged supports, right? The Rel is one of the best because of the combination with the mechanics with the ultimate, but Alistar works really well as well. And interesting that they first rotated Kai'Sa. I mean, Varus is up, Jinx is up, Kalista Thresh is down, yes, but we saw C9 first rotate the Varus, matched by the Jhin from Damwon, which was questionable in a sense when you're drafting Jhin, Leona, Morgana, Zoe, way too much CC, not much late game insurance, but the Kai'Sa is definitely going to have an engaged support by our side. But BoogieX picking up the Gnar to match into the Renekton, very standard. We've seen this over the last couple of months. The Xayah matched into the Kai'Sa. We've also seen this over the last couple of months when Kai'Sa goes for the assassination on the enemy AD carry. You can negate that with the Featherstorm, right?
And we literally saw it for all of 2019. This is a bot lane classic, the modern bot lane classic. And options here now coming in for DFM. The Akali locked in. Is it? I love to see it, frankly.
Yeah, that's probably going mid for Arya, but I'm just surprised they didn't pick up either support or jungle here. You'd expect an AP jungle match with the Renekton or a support match with the Kai'Sa. Maybe they're confident in picking mid here, pick the odd one out, because now, what does Infinity ban away? Do they ban away supports or junglers? They're going to have to target one. I would imagine they're looking at jungle.
When Twisted Fate immediately banned away, I like this. Pick the Akali, immediately ban the TF, one of the most conventional counters to the pick. And now what is the response? You talked about it already. The luxury that DFM have playing on the red side is that they will get to just insta-slam a support on 4 if the pool is banned out at all.
Yeah, I think they're going to look to counter-pick support here. Makes the most sense. Jungler on 4. Save last pick for Kazu, which is probably like if they blind pick an Alistar for the Xayah, maybe they can just go for something like the Gragas, but the Jungler's going to get banned out. There's the Lily. I wouldn't be surprised to see perhaps a Nidalee ban as well. Although Steel hasn't played much Nidalee in the LJL, it's definitely a powerhouse pick alongside Renekton. And I really like this adaptation from DFM because it basically means that Infinity have to choose who to ban away, and Steel must have the confidence to know that he has a jungler in his pocket to pick up regardless of the bans.
Well, and from what we've heard, Kindred is a reasonably high prio jungler, and given that you have what would appear to be at least an AP mid laner, you'd think that that might be the follow-up ban here coming in from Gillette Infinity. Really debating, though, what they want to take off. Of course, hard to know what's been super popular for either of these teams in scrims, so there may be some secrets in the meta that we have not seen yet.
Yeah, and I think Infinity Esports are going to round out their comp probably with a Control Mage, as we'd expect from Cody. Maybe something like the Syndra or the Orianna into the Akali. Probably Syndra, a better pick than the Orianna, because we've seen lots of Akalis picked into Orianna, getting loads of solo kills. FPX comes to mind already. But like you said, Dracos, the Rel priority. Most played for both these supports as well, so denying the Rel perhaps from the side of Infinity. And then they are blind picking their support, which means that they have high priority on the support, and they don't mind getting counterpicked. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an Alistar perhaps come out here for Ackerman into the Rel, or things like the Gragas.
And it feels like for all this tension around the bot lane matchup, ultimately we have something that feels pretty standard to what we are used to seeing in playoffs pretty much across the world. Xayah Alistar up against a Kai'Sa Rel. Most of the time I think you give it to the Kai'Sa Rel simply because of the synergy that we talked about, but each of these champions powerful in their own right. Something that we'll keep our eye on because Infinity taking their time, debating. Cody going to get his hands on the Sylas. And I would love it if it was a Bard.
Oh, you would definitely
or a
love
Pike.
it. But
I would lose it. But I think it's for sure an Alistar.
You love the hovers, Dracos. You love the Bard. It's definitely going to be an Alistar in my eyes. I would expect some kind of engaged support. Nautilus, Leon, Alistar, we've all been hovering. I think this is going to be the key thing, but there's a lot of standard stuff going on here, Dracos. We've got Nara into Renekton. We've got Sylas into Akali. We've got Xayah into Rel. And now we're about to find out what jungle matchup we have. But there's the Alistar locked in. Is Steel going to opt into the Nidalee? He has a lot of engage with the Kai'Sa Rel already. I think a little bit more engage wouldn't hurt too much. So something like a Nocturne could work really well for that composition, but there's no way that gets locked in. This champ got nerfed so hard, he relies way too much on bonus AD scaling now, and his base damage is ruined.
Let's do it! I said new meta! I was wrong!
This is the most standardized meta comps ever. Nara, Renekton, Udyr, Hecarim, Sylas, Akali, Alistar, Rel, Xayah, Kai'Sa, both these teams sticking to comfort on this new patch.
And we're just going to have to see how effective it is after the nerfs that have come through. Hecarim, you mentioned, feels like he was gutted. Maybe we see a new build, new adaptation for both these lineups. One pick I want to call out immediately, Cody picking up the Sylas again. Maybe I talk about 2019 too much. Sylas into Akali, a matchup that we've seen a million times, but if they're going to give us the old last-second swoopy swap, and that's an Akali top and a Renekton mid, then I am all about it.
I mean, Evie has played Akali in the LJL, so he has got comfort on that, but so has Arya. This would be the first time we see Arya on the Renekton, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him busted out, because I've been watching lots of Arya's solo queue games. He has a lot of Renekton played, so a lot of comfort there. And Renekton into Sylas is better than the Akali, right? You get way more push, way more kill pressure, and way more priority. So that definitely helps him out in the early to mid stages of the game. And that does help out your jungler, in essence.
And Cadril, across the board, you see the smiles on the face. Evie looking like he's ready to have a good time here. See how solid as Akali can be on the top side of the map up against the likes of the Gnar. Gnar, a very powerful pick for Khan in our first game. Can it be the same for Bugax on the side of Gillette Infinity?
Yeah, the swap of the solo lanes from DFM basically means we're going to drop a little bit of top push and a little bit of volatility in the top side for the mid push. So that helps the Renekton and Hecarim get the mid push so they can move the sides easier. Really good sacrifice there if both your solo laners can play the Renekton. As we've seen, Renekton Flex is so powerful, especially in regions like the LPL and LCK, which we've seen in.
Oh, Cadril. I have so many questions. The only person that I have very attentively watched play Renekton was Showmaker, and Daewon Kia by all means should have lost that game and somehow made this incredible miracle comeback. And I'm wondering what it looks like now in the hands of Arya. Because if you look back, as we keep our eyes on the jungler, as we see if any crazy level ones are going to happen, Saros was the crazy pick guy. Small champion pool, always full of crazy picks. It was the Ziggs, it was the Heimer, it was the GP mid. I like that we're getting some of that from Arya. Have to see now if he can make good on that commitment, picking up a champ like Renekton and win out in the early game.
Yeah, he definitely has a winning lane matchup, but Renekton obviously really strong in the early to mid stages of the game, does fall off in the late stages of the game. But Arya, I think he's one of the strongest players on DFM alongside Steel. I think this is one of his bread and butter picks, despite not playing it in the LJL. It's something that he's been playing a lot in solo queue. Lots of comfort. I wouldn't be surprised to see him push in these waves play with Steel, move to sides. Effie doesn't even have flash on the Akali, so definitely to cover that. But there's a lot of aggression on the bot side. 2 engaged supports, Xayah versus Kai'Sa.
Ooh. And just watching, we kind of expected crazy level 1s in the previous game. There wasn't anything too nuts. I think Steel, of course, a player we're going to watch. Also Solid Snake, less because of who they are as players and more because of the champions that they've opted to pick up here. 2 champions we expected to kind of fall away when it came to priority, seeing them once again.
Yeah, 2 comfort champs. And you know the comfort that we have on the side of the map is bot lane. White Lotus and Yutapon, the veterans, the staples for these teams. Picking up comfort, you got the Kai'Sa for Yutapon, the Xayah for White Lotus. These champs are the top 2 most played for both of these players. We expected Varus, we expected Jinx, we saw a Jhin already, but both these players are the veterans, the legends of their regions. And we'll have to see how they progress the game to carry, because yes, Yutapon has more agency with the champion that he has to find engages and find picks, but White Lotus has a lot of scaling, and he can be very reliable in the late stages of the games.
And frankly, when we talk about both these teams and the way that they love to force fights and force skirmishes, it's always a pleasure to see them on champions that enable them to do that. And with an Alistar and a Rel in the bottom lane, that is going to be what we expect. For now, Renekton, unsurprisingly, has push on level 1. Things maybe get a little bit easier for Sylas at level 3, but still going to be a pretty difficult lane matchup for Cody. And Cody, not always the strongest laner, even if he can contribute a lot to Gillette Infinity in team fights.
Yeah, he has a lot of good ults to take away, though. He has a Renekton ult, the Akali ult, the Hecarim ult. Even things like the Rel ult can be useful in these fights when you have a Mega Gnar. So we'll have to see how he uses those in fights. The mid push will be contested. Cody actually winning out on these trades.
Quick level 3 immediately
That's
goes
a solo
in.
kill.
First blood for Cody, not just about the Zoe. Makes his mark on the Sylas
He's
too.
been playing so many control majors. Picks the Sylas, gets counterpicked by a Renekton flex, gets the solo kill. Arya, we talked about Arya, we hyped him up, we said he's the key for the team, he has a winning lane matchup, but that's a solo kill for Cody, and that's huge for Gillette Infinity.
Sadly for Arya, he is not the first time he's been solo killed by a Sylas we've seen on stage, so have to track how he can do, what he can do to adapt. Of course, Cody's going to back now, spend all that gold that he earned, holds onto his TP, as Arya's just going to have to hold on to his wave, and that means Solid Snake gets free access to the crab. Everything going swimmingly for Gillette Infinity.
And a really smart play there from Cody on the follow-up after the solo kill. What he did was he hard traded onto Arya, forced out his potions, because he knows he's going to TP back anyway, so the health that he loses in the fight, as long as he doesn't die, is meaningless. So now he's going to TP back full health with potions, and Arya, already a little bit low, might have to use a potion. So really good adaptation there. Lots of pressure in mid now for Infinity. We'll see if both junglers can use this kind of unexpected solo kill in mid and adapt in the game as it progresses, because both junglers have traded crabs and both are going to opposite sides of the map again.
And this is something we talked about. Whenever you compare regions, you never know if you're just going to see a difference in laning ability. Now, Arya, maybe it was just a single slip-up, but it's something that we're going to have to keep our eyes on as we go further into this matchup. Meanwhile, on the top side, sort of as expected, Bugax has top lane push, but he's not winning out in CS. Effie doing a very good job picking up those creeps.
Yeah, looked really rough from in the early stages, but once Akali gets a couple levels, she can start to contest the push on bouncing waves. She can start to trade aggressively. And Cody actually saved TP. So he ran back to lane, the wave was in a good state. He has TP advantage in mid, which is huge. If he takes a bad trade, TP back. Arya's the one on the back foot. If there's a play in bot side, TP down there. DFM is the one on the back foot because of the numbers disadvantage.
And you're right, it's a good thing to point out. Level 6 is going to be a very big deal in this laning phase. Arya gets it first. Maybe he has a brief window to maximize on trades. Missing that, though, and he's still going to go for the play. Meanwhile, bot lane also getting aggressive. Yutapon, that's the turn back from White Lotus. That's the chain CC. Kazu, what are you doing? White Lotus takes it back.
Blunder in the bot side as well for DFM. Ackerman finds the engage, and Ackerman voted outstanding rookie in the LLA for Infinity. He is one of the playmakers, one of the aggressive supports that we will see at this tournament. Ackerman finds his window, finds the engage, and that's a 2v2 kill in bot. Solo kill in mid. This early game's perfect for Infinity.
And now Steel just in the mid lane trying to force this lane out so Arya can get a reset off. Things going very, very well. And I think we have to talk about it again. You already called it out, but Ackerman, a player that we have to watch. Outstanding rookie, such a young player, 7.8 KDA. Of course, his stats are fantastic. They are the team that won their region, but now you're seeing it come to fruition on the international stage. Enemy team goes on a sloppy engage, you immediately punish.
Yeah, he's a key player to get the ball rolling early. Part of majority of the kills, and this engage, Kazu's the one who pulled the trigger. Ackerman's the one that said, okay, thumbs up, I'll turn it, and they get a 2v2 kill. Solo kill in mid, 2v2 kill in bot. Infinity are taking over this early game. We expected it to be about mid jungle, but in essence, it's just about mid bot side here. So we'll see how the game progresses, because both junglers just kind of full clearing at this point.
Solid Snake also pulling ahead in the jungle matchup, and one thing to note about the Hecarim is his clear is just not going to be as fast as it once was, and Ward is spotting them out, however, so a little bit of information, the detonation focus we can get back that they can use to their advantage as Steel is on the bottom side. That said, Ebby just kind of holding on in the top lane right now.
This is what we've seen from Ackerman in the LLA, just roaming out of bot side, level 4, level 5, trying to snowball the game, progress the game, help out the top side of the map, help out your mid laner. He does get spotted, but what he's done for his team is crucial. He's got a pink in the enemy jungle, gotten vision for his top and mid, and now what they can do is they can push in their lanes depending on where the jungler is. If he's not showing top side, he's obviously bot side. If we see him top side, then we know he's there. So, by process of elimination, they should be able to track Steel a lot easier.
But will this be punished? Steel and Kazu waiting in the darkness. White Lotus, no level 6 quite yet. If he gets it, much easier for him to survive. But here comes Steel. Ultimate can't come in. White Lotus, where is he going to go? Waiting to flash. That's the knockback initially. But Steel still tanking the tower. He has to back away. And DFM, a bit of a fumble there on the dive. Feels like they could have tried to set up a little bit cleaner.
They knew that they had to pull the trigger now because Ackerman would be back on the bot side. The wave didn't crash, so Steel was tanking the whole tower. He forced White Lotus's flash, but he knew if he ulted in, it would have been a 1-for-1 trade at best for DFM because Kazu also got chunked out a lot from the tower shot. That could have been a disaster for DFM. Good idea to call it off, but a questionable play is if he's going aggressive topside.
Doesn't connect on the E, though. Big loss of damage. Overall, very positive trade. Still has the Ignite up and available. And certainly now that Akali's level 6, she has a lot more kill pressure onto Bugax whenever he is mini-Gnar, but doesn't quite go the way that Ebby wants it to.
Yeah, that'll relieve Bugax a lot in this lane because the Akali ult is quite a long cooldown. And Solid Snake's the one on the bot side now. He can start up Drake if he wants. Steel has no Ghost. He has bot push. Maybe he wants to look for a neutral objective here, but no. He's running mid. Arya has flash and ultimate. Maybe they can look for it, but it's very risky.
PvE gameplay, that was day one key of Cloud9, Cajal. We're here for the kills. We said these teams were going to force. They're going to force. Now we go. Fight immediately kicking off. Arya going to have to use the ultimate soon to try to make his way out of this one, but Soul Tank on the way in. Can use the Renekton before he gets taken down. Cody Fear just barely able to make it out alive. Solid Snake comes in to save the day just in time.
Fight in topside though.
Ebby going to be in trouble. Ignite now ticking. One more auto. Needs the empowered. Ooh. Minion body blocks the boulder. That surely would have finished the job.
Yeah, definitely would have. I think if he would have died there if the boulder hit him, gets blocked by the creep, and if he had the ultimate there, perhaps he could have got the kill. Bugax playing to his limits there, but Cody just about gets the Dominus ult off from the CC as Evie just TPs back to the top lane, sorry. And no one actually picked up the Drake. I thought Infinity kind of had a free dragon there. Bot push, mid push. They could have just opted into a neutral objective, but no, they don't decide to take it. And Steel's the one to pull the trigger on the neutral objective train first, starts up this Herald.
That's going to be a big deal if it's not contested, if it's not traded back. You can see Kazu, though, is moving up just to make sure that it does go into their favor. That means that Yutapon is going to sacrifice a little bit on the bottom side, a bit more vulnerable, as though level 6 has a lot of safety, has the heal as well, so he should be okay. And Solid Snake, consistent wards on this top side Gromp have given so much information over to Dead FM.
Yep, spotted out Ackerman on the roam. Now it's spotted out Solid Snake when they start up this Herald. And the trade-offs on bot side, though.
Here we go immediately. Yutapon is going to have to be forced to ult away. Going for the last auto. Feathers fly. Yutapon just making it out, but barely. They're going to be able to grab a few plates here in the exchange, but Yutapon holding on to his life at the cost of all of his major cooldowns.
This is the trade-off of Kazu showing on the top side. Good identification from Ackerman. Pulls the trigger, forces Yutapon's ult and summoners at the cost of nothing. He still has his ultimate up, so they can definitely find a re-engage when they want to, but Steel's on the bot side. I'm not sure if he got spotted. I think he did.
Steel just trying to force Solid Snake spots him, but Solid Snake pulling further and further ahead. They have to make this play work or it'll turn against them. Going in immediately onto White Lotus. They know that the ultimate is gone and they are here to punish. DFM strike back.
Steel run past all his camps and gets the fight on bot side. He knew Infinity wanted to push out the next wave, but they used all their fighting tools to try and dive Yutapon and force his summoner. So now Yutapon can push out this bot wave. He's relieved a lot here, and he'll get a good base on the bot side where they've been struggling after this 2v2 kill. Hang on here. They're pushing here with the Herald. They don't have too much HP to work with, so I think this is just going to be 2 plates.
2 plates is something. You can see massive deficit in the jungle, 77 to 61. Huge camp lead over to the side of Solid Snake. So Steel making that play work is huge for the side of DFM. Overall, though, Cajal, for now, while the gold is pretty close, it does feel like Gillette and Infinity have been consistently coming out on top in most of these plays. This is the first one that really feels like it went in favor of DFM.
Yeah, Steel doesn't even have the ultimate here, but he knows Infinity's pushed up, trying to get that second plate on the tower. You can see the top of your screen. They do end up getting it here, the plus 160, but just skips his camp. Steel doesn't even try to start up his blue or Gromp. He instantly runs to the bot side. He knows that he can get there first before Solid Snake, who he spotted on the crab above him. And good identification there from DFM to get a kill onto Yutapon. But right now, Infinity still have the gold lead. No one's really started up the Dragon, and the Herald usage was poor. So DFM, they haven't really found a way to crack this game open. Infinity still in the lead.
And you can see both supports just fishing for these big plays. Sadly for Kazu, still only level 5, a lot less lethal there overall. As we get later and later into the game, we're going to have to track this. Both of these teams love to fight. We've said it already. They love to force big plays. Bugak's now going to be in trouble. Looks like Arya's waiting to see who's going to tank the tower. They're going to try to trade it back and forth. TP now being used. They're just instantly going to one-shot Bugak. Solid Snake. Going to try to get something back. Cody on the way in, but it's just too little too late. Well played by DFM.
Really, really good play there from DFM. Arya using the Dominus to flash, get the W, get the killing blow onto Bugak. To make it even worse, Solid Snake ran top to cover, and Cody had to TP in, and they got nothing. So DFM fighting back in this early game. Arya definitely making up for what happened in the level 3. Has a CS lead, did get the kill top now, so he has the tools he needs to start pushing forwards in this mid game.
Exactly what DFM needed as well. So rookie player makes a bit of a mistake. Cody happy with the solo kill, but yes, as you said, redemption slowly but surely for Arya. Let's see if he can keep that momentum going in favor of DFM. Ackerman and White Lotus still holding on to control in this lane. As long as it's 2v2, they look to be pretty comfortable. I imagine the reset here for White Lotus will result in his mythic item. Not sure if he's going to go for the Gale Force or the Kraken Slayer.
And I think this game will be explosive because you've got both teams with a sort of 1-3-1 comp with the Akali Renekton on one side, the Gnar Sylas on the other, and then hard engage on the bot side of the map. So they can pull the trigger on a numbers advantage at the click of a finger, and they're going to look to push out the sides and contest them. So whichever solo lanes get ahead to the mid stage of the game just makes the game a lot easier for them. They can push out the sides like we saw Khan do last game and collapse on these neutral objectives first. So that's definitely what both these teams are focusing on. But Dragon is still up. 12 minutes in the game, no one's taken Dragon yet. Maybe DFM want to look for it now.
No, they're not in.
No, they want to go for the crab. It's a bit dangerous. Infinity's around. They might even contest this. Oh!
Cody can walk down. Take it away.
Takes away the crab.
Happy to have that one. But I agree. A bit odd not to see any priority on this objective. That said, curious to see if Detonation folks may want to keep forcing these kind of big plays onto side lanes, trying to use any advantages that they have to roam out. They've been very good at coordinated skirmishes and coordinated engages domestically. You saw some of that on the top dive, but now Infinity, they got the crab for free, stole that one away, and now they're going to take the dragon as well. DFM not feeling ready to contest that one.
Yeah, I think Infinity had loads of windows to take this dragon. They are going to end up picking it up at 13 minutes in the game. That means the Dragon Soul is quite a way away, you know, 28, 29 minutes, almost 30 minutes perhaps, depending on how fast they take these next dragons, is where we're looking at the next Dragon Soul to come in, which is quite late in the game, which gives DFM a lot of time to stall if they fall behind. It actually slows the game down. But DFM on the cross map, moving with their mid jungle, like we said in draft. They want to get their mid jungle, get the mid push, move the side, snowball the top side of the map. Bugak is going to get pushed in. There's no wave just yet, but they're trying to crash it in here now. If he's pushing it in, steals here, Arya's here. Solid Snakes read the play, but it's a 2v3.
Bugak's going to be in trouble. They're just going to instantly one-shot him. Solid Snake, there's just nothing to do. Udyr, a very powerful champion, but he should not have walked up to find the stun. Immediate double kill for the side of DFM.
And this is the difference of having a mid-jungle holding hands and being buddies in the early stages of the game. They move together to the top side. It's already a numbers advantage. Solid Snake has to cover on his own. Cody had to base, which innately led to another dive on this top side. Evi's really far ahead on this Akali already. Like we said, when it gets to the side lanes, this is going to be dangerous for Infinity.
And while some of the individual plays in the laning phase certainly went in the favor of Gillette Infinity, the team play around the top side for DFM has been so incredibly clean. The dive threat from an Akali, Renekton, Hecarim is unstoppable. Poor Bugak, the second he is Mininar, he is a dead man walking.
Yeah, absolutely one shot from the Renekton and the Hecarim, but look at what Infinity have done. They swapped the map up. Bugak's base, go bot side. Cody pushed out mid, goes top side, and White Lotus and Ackerman, they're the ones moving from bot to mid. So what they've done is they've pulled the trigger for the 1-3-1 already to stop these dives happening on the top side of the map. They want to slow the game down. They want to make sure the solo laners stop getting dove, and the way to do that is to put your bot lane mid. You can see White Lotus pushing in Arya. That means that he can't roam towards the top side, and look at the vision around mid on the top side of the map. They already have full vision. So Ackerman plays towards, he based, now he's back out on the map, and Infinity have pulled the trigger on the 1-3-1. I think DFM might need to match it soon.
Probably need to, but at the same time, while we're still on bits and pieces from the side of the Infinity solo laners, we're already finishing mythic items for both Ebi and Arya. Stridebreaker.
And Utapon.
Yeah, it's...
And Steel.
Everybody.
4 of them picked up, and Infinity just have components. And it looks like they're matching the 1-3-1. Utapon's come mid, Eevee's matching bot side onto Bugak, so that's not allowed Infinity to push out and get control of the map. DFM respond well.
Let's see what DFM want to do with this. They have item advantage, they've got strong champions, still losing out in jungle CS overall, but otherwise the gold completely in their favor. 1,000, only the Drake balancing it out a little bit for the side of Gillette Infinity. No towers have gone down yet. In Cadril, we said it once, we said it probably 3 times, but I'm going to say it for a 4th. Both of these teams like to force. I am waiting to see when we get the scrappy 3v3s, 4v4s, or 5v5s. Will it be around something like Herald? For now, DFM have just been letting these objectives go, seemingly totally unconcerned with forcing a fight now.
Yeah, dropping the neutral objectives for tempo, which means Steel is on the bot side, which means Bugak is vulnerable. Maybe they can get a kill and a tower cracked open. Arya doesn't have TP, Cody does, he could match it here.
Bogex Mininar, the Rage is going to start to stack up. He's going to hop out back, but Evie just walking in. It should be an easy kill pack. He just doesn't have the time to transform.
And this is the trade-off. This is the trade-off of neutral objectives, using your time on the map. It's called tempo, using it for the neutral objectives. Instead, DFM want to focus on gold, getting their solo laners ahead. They look to get Bogex again. 3 deaths on the dive. Steel playing really well around Efi, and he's going to get the bot tower as well.
And Evie now, 301, Sword Shoes, level 12. This is brutal, because while he's been kind of contained maybe a strong word here against Bogex, he hasn't gone into a fight against White Lotus yet.
Evie is 2,000 gold up at 16 minutes in, and he's going to get bot tower as well, so he's going to be even further ahead. First tower of the game.
Maybe in mid-game fights, Cody can take away the Akali ult, could outvalue him, but not at an item disadvantage. This is going to be so very difficult for the side of Gillette Infinity. Any kind of scrappy skirmish. And also, you've got a Kai'Sa Rel still. Instant side lane target takedowns. If they want to split into a 1-3-1, very easy for Yutapon and Kazu to try to punish that. This is a difficult game for Gillette Infinity to play out. Good news is, White Lotus at least has priority in the mid lane. With the power of the passive on the Xayah, very easy for him to get push.
Yeah, they have the mid push. They need to start using it to sides. I think Solid Snake needs to start matching these plays. They have double TP up. Maybe they want to cross map. You know, if Evie's getting the dives in bot with Steel, then maybe they can look to dive Arya on the top side, trade the towers, trade and cross map a bit more instead of dropping neutral objectives for gold on the side of DFM. But the items are being complete. Evie's building towards the Zhonya's. He's almost 2 items on this Akali, and Bogex hasn't even finished his Strikebreaker yet.
It's a truly difficult position to be in, Cadril. And at this stage of the game, of course, important to note, you've seen these junglers in playoffs. Whatever region you've watched an Udyr and a Hecarim go toe-to-toe. Of course, 20% move speed taken off the Chem Tank active. Hecarim nerfed a lot in terms of his damage numbers. But remember, overall, Udyr, a walking auto attack based stun. Hecarim still a massive AoE teamfight ultimate. So as you move later, going to be harder for Solid Snake to find advantages.
Interesting swap up on the map here. They've taken Evie and put him on the top side to match Cody and match Solid Snake, and now they're still playing bot side. I wonder if they think he's strong enough to 1v2 the top side while they keep forcing on the bot side of the map, Steel getting the dragon. Let's see if Infinity can trade top side. Look at them all moving top side. Ackerman, White Lotus, Solid Snake, all running top side with this mid push. Maybe Evie has to back off here.
Evie just backs off though. He's not going to give anything up. So far, just waiting for them to show. Both Udyr and the Sylas is going to collapse. They have the Herald if they want to use it. I imagine they might save it. They have a bit more time before it's going to expire.
Yeah, they might use it on the mid lane, but this is the cross map they need. Trading gold for neutrals. They need to be the ones getting their solo laners ahead, and this tower for Cody will help him push out the waves to tier 2 and collapse mid first.
Total control of the bottom side though right now for the side of DFM. Cody has to be careful about stepping forward, still quite behind in terms of overall itemization.
Yeah, look at Arya. This is exactly what DFM want to do. Push in bot to tier 2 and move mid to contest the vision to make sure Infinity can't get vision in their own jungle. You'll see Cody doing the same thing, but Evie wants to look for maybe a 1v1 here. There's
Cody
a tower,
doesn't have a ton of mana. Ignite already ticking down, going to deny any extra healing. Akali dash right back through. Where are they going? Cody ticking, burning, but he's still alive. Dashes back out to safety.
Just about survives, and Evie does force him to flash away, does use the ultimate, but Cody still has TP. So if they want to force something, he can be active on the map. And now that Akali doesn't have Ignite, doesn't have ult, so it relieves a little bit of pressure. Cody just about survives.
Barely, and that is a big deal. Gets the Ignite out as well. Has to give up his flash though. Difficult exchange.
Now he's TPing back here because they have a mid wave coming in and they have the Herald. So using his play in top side for tempo, right? Evie can't fight mid, he can't TP in and match this play because he has no ultimate, has no Ignite. Whereas Sylas will be just as strong, but he's TPing in. As I say that, he's looking for a fight.
He's unconcerned with what you have to say. The Rel, the Hecarim combo. Solid Snake used. The Tractor Pal already procced initially. That's the follow-up. Kazu with the clean engage. It's an absolute meat grinder. Renekton slicing and dicing through the team. Evie on the backside, but Kazu will go down. Meganar coming in. Bogex, can they turn this back? It looks like the answer is no. 2-for-1 trade in favor of DFM.
Dracos, I thought there was no way they would take that fight without the Akali ult and the Akali Ignite, but Kazu finds them all. He gets such a good engage. He does drop 2 kills for DFM. They punish the push. They might be able to trade this mid-tier 1 that they lost for the mid-tower of Infinity. Take it down.
Firing back every time Infinity find a play. Detonation Focus Me get one back in return. 7 kills to 3 in their favor, about a 2k gold lead, and now the towers will be tied up. Well played by the side of DFM.
Yeah, you've seen lots of cross-mapping happening here. You can see the bot side vision for DFM. Pinks on the entrances of the Raptors. The same on the top side map. Blue wards on the entrances of DFM's jungle. But the 5v5 happens. DFM find it. Something's going on the top side here. I think Bogex is trying to escape from Evie, but he looks like he's fighting it. Evie, he ulted in, I think.
Going forward, going to go for the second alt proc. Now goes invisible. Bogex is trying to run out to safety. If you can get Meganar, maybe he can throw Evie back, but is going to walk away. Evie does not want to overextend, overstay his welcome.
And Evie will heal up on the creeps. He has the Omnivamp, but Bugax is staying around. No ultimate, no ignite. Evie's going to back off. And Bugax won't find this kind of 1v1 kill. But on the bot side,
now going in. He's going to find the snare. Ackerman, Solid Snake looking for the setup, but they don't have a wave here. They have to pull the trigger on the dive soon.
The wave's coming in, though.
Arya just going to step forward, though, into Cody. The stun does now connect. He's trying to turn it back. The healing is there. Arya now dashing out to safety. Double dash, stride breaker. Not enough. Ackerman finds the kill.
Ackerman takes him down, flashes in, and now they're going to get this bot tier 1. This is the cross maps we need to see from Infinity. Start diving them back. Kind of trade punch for punch. You can see Evie's trying to all in topside. Let's just dive bot. We saw Kazu towards the top side trying to defend the play. So let's make our own play. But we've got the replay here. INF. I thought that DFM wasn't going to contest this. They popped the Herald. The TP comes in, but Kazu's engage was key in this fight. He found almost everyone with this Magnet Storm, and from there Arya flashes in, gets a massive Q, and they just AoE them down. Kazu eventually falling on the backside.
Yeah, Kazu trading his life, but in the new Axe Effect replay, it was everything DFM needed to come out on top. Still only a 2-for-1, but ultimately a positive for the team overall. And we saw in our first game, small gold leads build very quickly if you can keep forcing in the way that Danwon Kia did.
Yeah, and DFM and INF are going toe-to-toe here in these dives. DFM slightly ahead in gold, a dragon apiece. Both side lane towers have fallen. Both mid lane towers have fallen. We'll have to see how this game progresses.
And of course, again, reminder, both of these teams not expected to make it out of the group, but if they want to make the miracle happen, they cannot afford to lose to their direct competition. We expect Gillette Infinity and Detonation Focus Me to be going toe-to-toe. If one of these teams finds a win here and then can find an upset over Damwon, over Cloud9, it could be the start of a Cinderella story, you know, that we've only seen a few times before in League of Legends history.
Definitely possible, though. Anything is possible, but these teams look very even at almost 23 minutes in the game. The Baron is up. Both teams have a pretty quick Baron with the Kai'Sa and with the Xayah. Both teams have one dragon apiece. The Soul will be very far away for either of these teams, but maybe they want to prioritize them because this game could go late, but we'll have to see how the team fights go because there's no TP for Evie. He's pushing out the top side map, but he is collapsing now. Maybe they want to contest his mid push. TP from Cody is going mid. I think this is all for the Dragon Dracos.
Ready and committed. Knowing that this game could go to Soul, Mountain would be a massive game changer for either side. Ackerman throwing out the Hex Flash, but DFM not feeling like they have to commit quite yet.
It's all about vision in mid-wave, so DFM playing slow.
Kazu, though?
He's got a big flank. He is behind Infinity. Maybe he can find a key engage again, but it's going to be a mid-wave contest. But because Kazu is on the flank, it means DFM might have to give up the mid-push.
He's now stepping up. They've spotted him now. They're just going to try to collapse on him before the fight can even kick off. They're going to try to one-shot Kazu and make sure that he can't get anything done. But in the meantime, Epi is stepping forward. INF peel back flawlessly to make sure they give up nothing. They take Kazu, and now they're ready to take the fight. Epi on the retreat, but here comes Cody. Second proc of the ultimate. He's waiting. He goes golden. He buys a bit more time. Arya trying to get out. Double dashes, but goes right back in. Cody on a tear. That's a double kill. And Bugax back for a little bit of revenge. The triple for Cody. He's looking to finish the job. That's the slow. Does not connect on the Gnar. Yutapon running for his life. The heal to take him out to safety, but it is too little. It is too late. That is the shutdown for Gillette Infinity. They take the fight.
DFM overreaching the fight. Steel engaging on one side. Kazu getting caught on the other. White Lotus was able to peel back, and from there, Cody, MVP of the fight, takes away the Akali ult, chases them all down. DFM run for the hills, but it looks like Infinity's going to get the Baron, and the game has swung into their favor.
Incredible. Kedro, I cannot wait to see the replay on that one. Kazu, he thought he found the flank. He thought he had wandered around to the side of the map where there would be no vision, but a single control ward and an instant response from Gillette Infinity spells victory in that fight.
Yeah, and they're walking out in this bot side of the map. You know, when Infinity take this Baron, they've used all their tempo tops and they have to base, so he's trying to get some vision bot side, but we'll watch this again. 4 versus 5 on the mid wave. Cody's around, but Kazu comes from the side, and he gets spotted on the pink ward, like you said, on the control ward, and from there they turn on Kazu. Look at Steel, he tries to engage onto White Lotus alone, but the follow-up's not there. Evie can't catch up, Ackerman peels, and by then Steel's in tower range, so that from this point, Cody takes down Kazu, takes away Evie's ultimate, and then he chases them down.
Such a clean follow-up from the Silas, using everything, item, actives, abilities, maximizing the value out of this champion. Part of the reason we saw this champion mid lane up against Akali so often is that Silas, once he steals an Akali ult, is just a better Akali.
That animation cancel on the chains was so nice to watch. Uses the E and then uses the R2 of Akali and then uses the second E2 to cancel the animation to get onto the backline. Really well played from Cody there. And now Infinity with the Baron, 4-1, 4 members topside, 1 person mid, they're sieging.
And we went from a dead even game to now 4K rather in the favor of Gillette Infinity. How much more can they get with this Red Bull Baron power play is the question. Tier 2s feel guaranteed when you have a Baron buff, but can they break open the base? Can DFM weather the storm?
Yeah, you're completely right. Tier 2 should fall with Baron. I think the first Baron is normally good to take down Tier 2s, but on Tier 3s it gets a lot more difficult. It's really hard to push them down because once you push these waves in, DFM have such a short route between towers to defend them. They don't have that much wave clear though. They have very short ranged wave clear, so that means Infinity can start chunking these towers down.
Neither of these teams, really, when you look at it, have a ton of reliable wave clear. There are no control mages on either side. So for now, for Gillette Infinity, they just get to walk into the base. DFM do not have the tools to hold on. TP could be massive, though. Here comes the Akali. That's immediately Kazu getting the fight kicked off. The stolen Hecarim ult. Where's it going to go? Xayah going into the air, trying to hold on. White Lotus still living for now. Ghost Golden buys a bit more time, but Arya is here in the midst of everyone. He's going to finish at least one. Goes back in. Bugak's eyes on him, but the stun is there to deny any potential follow-up. Evie off to the side, but he's just hitting Solid Snake. It is not a priority target. It is not the fight that DFM want. It is the fight that will win Gillette Infinity this game. Baron buff backing them up, an inhibitor down. Arya holding on for dear life. The stun will not be enough. Baron buffed minions pushing in, and Gillette Infinity have done it. They will take down Detonation Focus Me in their first game of MSI 2021.
Evie's trying his best to try and defend these towers, but he's going to get taken down. The respawn's coming in for Kazu. Yutapon's up in 10 seconds, but I think Infinity have done it. They have the Baron buff. They have 4 members hitting onto the Nexus. Yutapon's alive now, but I don't think he can stop this siege. Really good team fights from Infinity. The double TP from DFM was too late. By then, Yutapon had fallen, and from there, Infinity clean house.
And what a start for Gillette Infinity. Cody finding the solo kill in the mid lane, suffering a bit in that mid game. His top was relentlessly dove by Detonation Focus Me, but in those mid game fights, in those clutch moments, Cody showed up so clean on the Silas in those exchanges. You talked about the animation cancels, we saw the triple kills. This man was everything the team needed him to be.
And I think you saw Infinity get the solo kill in mid, get the solo kill in bot, but from there the game slowed down for them. DFM were the ones forcing the ganks, forcing the objectives, forcing the dives on side laners, diving the tier 1s, and Infinity were just kind of falling behind, trading a dragon for a dive, but in the end, Infinity started diving back. They dove Arya, and they collapsed on the fights first.
And crazy to see, again, how quickly the story can change. You can set any expectation you want for these teams, but the people who rise up is never going to be so simple, so predictable. We talked about White Lotus, we talked about Ackerman on his side. They had a good game, they found that solo kill, but at the end of the day, this game was about Cody in the fights. Pressure continues. This was a game they had to win. If they want to make it out of groups, they need to keep finding these wins, and it only gets harder from here.
Yeah, DFM really overreaching in these fights, but Infinity punishing it well, really well played. MVP for me, Cody, definitely. That cleanup in mid was clutch, got them the Baron, got them the siege, no wave clear on the side of DFM, and they forced the fight.
Well, I think it's time to look at the Cisco Every Second Counts replay thanks to the reliable Cisco network. Kazu, of course, reacting super fast and engaging after seeing Alistair use his knockup. Even if the game wasn't a win, Kazu still found a moment to come in clutch.
Yeah, massive Magnum Storm. This is what DFM, this is what the team fight that got DFM ahead in the early mid stages of the game. This is what got them the pushing sides. But in the end, this team fight wasn't enough to get them the win. It was a really good engage from Kazu. They only really got 2 members out of that, for it was a 2-for-1 trade in the end. But that kept DFM in the game. It kept them, it allowed them to kind of trade the mid-tier 1 they lost earlier on. They got the mid-tier 1, unlocks the map, but in the end, overreached in the fights. Really well played to Infinity.
And we're going to have to see how DFM can adapt in the games to come, in the days to come. But of course, RNG versus Pentanet.gg is our next matchup, and you can check out their team's anthem and the rest of the teams competing at MSI on the official League of Legends playlist on Spotify. See more from the pros and casters of MSI and why they chose their anthems there.
I'm so glad I didn't make that bet on Euphoria with you about waxing the legs for DFM winning games.
I'm sad you didn't, but that's okay. So you can win some, you lose some. For you, you mostly lose.
I lost all of them.
Yeah, it's true. Pentanet, of course, are facing a huge challenge from RNG as the music kicks off in our next game. And while we wait for that, you can check out the LCO Champions anthem on Spotify. We're Going Home by Drake. That's a banger.
That is a banger.
And a meme.
Baby, you look mighty fine. I figured I might come your way and roll up on you with that golden ticket. Shawty, can I get your digits? Maybe we can kick it. Hey, 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 hey. Just wait till all my time is up. Just wait till all my. Just wait till all my.
Smell irresistible. The new Axe Effect.
everyone to the State Farm Analyst Desk. Our next matchup is between the LCO's tatthang.ytbg and LPL champions RNG. An Awoken Giant now returning to the international stage. This is the start, of course, of Group A, which only has 3 teams. It has RNG from the LPL, it has Pentanet from the LCO, and it has UOL from the LCL. All those abbreviations, sometimes it gets a little tricky. So it's incredibly important that you get off of a right foot, since the 2 best teams in the quadruple round robin get to continue on to the next stage. But for Pentanet, it might be very tricky. They're up versus RNG, and RNG won MSI back in 2018. They were on the road to the Golden Road, but fell short. And this is their first domestic title since 2018. Vedius, this is one of the most storied organizations in global League of Legends, and specifically the LPL.
It certainly is. For a very long time, there would not be an international event where RNG was not there. They, alongside EDG, were 2 of the big names, 2 of the big powerhouses that the LPL would often send internationally, and I think that expectations were always very high around these 2 teams, especially when it came to Worlds and MSI. So I'm excited to see them return to the international stage, because they do indeed look a little different to the RNG that many fans may perhaps be used to seeing.
This is the lineup as we have seen it this split. Of course, the biggest thing is also that Xiaohu role swapped from the mid lane to the top lane, and Gala is stepping in that bot lane now as well. What did you make of the way they played their split, and also their eventful playoffs and booking the ticket to MSI after that?
I mean, with old name, they have new style right now, and the important thing is they have a good consistency, like because their game plan is so easy. Just play on top side early game and into both side, with Gala and Ming making a lot of good plays with them. So I think they have really good chance of winning this MSI. So we need to check their consistency.
Wow, okay. Big hopes there for RNG. I love how you explained it there. In the regular season, it was actually Xiaohu who's played around Ming with a lot of roaming. In the finals, though, it turned into a bit of the Gala show on his beloved Kai'Sa. He even got the pentakill, and it really contributed to them getting the upper hand in that series versus FPX.
It certainly did. It felt like that, well, I mean, FPX even had the better of RNG prior to the finals, and they had to change up their style in the finals. They couldn't win by playing through carries top, so instead they dedicated more resources down towards the bot lane, and it paid off. I feel like that Ming and Gala really showed up, with Ming acting as some of those really crucial engages, finding fantastic plays, alongside Gala just dealing the damage and cleaning up for his team. The bot lane really stepped up when they needed to, and I think they showcased to RNG was more than just being able to play through top side. And while there are still some that question if they can be consistent in that style, I think that they have showcased that at the very least they can do it.
Yeah, I think that is a great observation. Also a good question. What did we saw in the finals, for instance, that RNG, they ran down by Nagari, right? It wasn't a great time for Xiaohu, but it didn't matter, because in the team fights, they found the right flanks. Ming was able to stop those engages coming out of Nagari when necessary. Do you think that they learned a lot from that specific playoff match that they can bring to MSI?
Yeah, RNG right now is not like classic LPL style aggressive early game skirmishes, more like calm and collected, looking for the late game team fight, trying to do some smart map rotations more than others. So, I mean, it's fun to see, because also Damon Kia, who has huge chance to win MSI, has similar playstyle, I guess. So it's fun to see how they build up and how they grow up as a new team style.
Because as Woodid rightly says, like, when we look at how they played domestically, it was very much through the top side. Obviously, this bot lane on your screen was super important when it came to the finals, but my expectations are that Xiaohu is still someone we're going to be talking about and paying a lot of attention to in these group stage games, because he was how they found success. I love that Woodid talked about how they were very strategic in how they played the map. Split pushing, 0-3-2, 1-3-1 was a lot of their style, roaming up towards someone. They even had an Orianna top game early on in the split, like a lot of Lucian top, so I'm excited to see how flexible they can be. What do they put Xiaohu on? What is their interpretation of the meta, especially with the jungle changes? I think the RNG is going to be the one that's most tested by the shift in the meta.
I think that's a great point, because they don't have that much flexibility, in fact, when you look at the whole team and the champion picks. But Xiaohu is the one that stands out on that team. He does bring those champions that he played in the mid lane back to the top lane and has a lot of oversight over the map. Now, they are up versus Pentanet, and this is going to be a tall order. I mean, just the experience coming out of Xiaohu now combined with some of the younger players in Wei and in Cryan. What is going to be the strategy here for Pentanet, the LCO representative?
Well, it's difficult because obviously one of the big difficulties I think for Pentanet is that it is a roster comprised of largely veteran players. For many of them, this is the first time that they're ever getting to their chance at an international event. And I think the way in which they won their split was largely through an experience advantage. They were much smarter than many of their other competition. They often relied on scaling advantages and playing for late game team fights. And I think that a team like RNG is not one that you can really rely to scale into the late game. So if anyone, I'm looking at Pabu. How can Pabu find advantages in the early game? What can he do to set up Pentanet for success? And if he can challenge the likes of the mighty LPL junglers.
I mean, you've been in a position before where you were an underdog versus RNG, and Pentanet are definitely the underdogs. What advice would you give them? What strategy do you want to see from them if they want to have a chance?
I mean, when I won against RNG, no one expected, you know? So maybe they can bring some crazy stuff like Heimerdinger on the bot lane. I mean, in fact, they play really normal, like put the tanks on the top, player on the bot side. There are some question marks on their rotations, but I still think that they got enough power to compete. Like they can make some random rotations or invading as 5-man. I don't think they're ready for those crazy stuffs, you know? And I think we can actually just focus on the bot lane from Pride Eye.
Let's put it all on the line for Pentanet. The 2018 MSI champions are a massive challenge for Pentanet, who have a lot of newcomers to the international stage. Join us after the break for that match.
Your 2021 Spring Champions.
Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland.
Your 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland. 2021 Spring Champions. Your 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland. 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland. 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland. 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland. 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland. 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland. 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Preventive, it just doesn't matter. Pentanet are going to Iceland. 2021 Spring Champions. Stop it, Pre
Welcome back to MSI 2021 Group C, already kicking off with a bang. Excellent first two matches today. Now Group A, of course, only 3 teams, so every match is going to matter that much more. In our first match, well, there's David and Goliath, and that's down here. And then there's PentaNet.YtbG versus RNG, and that's up here.
You gotta have faith, man. Raise your koalas.
Raise your koalas. Os, and also NA, you guys now also have to raise your koalas as you are importing many of them. Raise them. Put your faith in PentaNet.YtbG. Put your faith in these players. If they upset here, if they take down RNG, remember their only competition to make it out of this group, if we assume RNG are going to make it out, Royal Never Give Up are going to make it out, is the Unicorns of Love. So a win here is monumental for this team.
And that's the key thing, right? Group A, there's 3 teams. UOL, PentaNet.YtbG, and RNG. RNG obviously favorite to get out, but if PentaNet can maybe upset RNG and take a game off them, then that helps them in the head-to-head against UOL to get out of this group, because theoretically, RNG should be the strongest ones in the group.
Overall, absolutely. And I think you look at this team, you look at the history, it's incredible to see so many of these players on the stage again. Xiaohu and Ming, obviously the torchbearers with the departure of Uzi. You heard from the desk already. Gala, big shoes to fill. Arguably the biggest 80 carries shoes to fill that any player has ever had to. So certainly a difficult challenge. And losing to PentaNet.YtbG would be rough start. I am absolutely 100% sure that the LPL fans would be ruthless if it came through. So RNG might feel comfortable in this matchup, but you know that they are going to be trying to smash and win as quickly as possible.
Remember the LGD as well, they weren't so happy about that. So I expect RNG to take this game, but there's always room for upsets. And I think that these two teams, just stylistically, I think we might see an upset, perhaps. I mean, you've got PentaNet.YtbG on one side, who rely a lot on Pradith. In the late game, I was talking to Rusty from the LCO about this team, and it seems like they play more towards jungle bot side. The majority of the time, top lane's not really shy about sacrificing himself, and Panther playing the tanks, playing the weak side, and then Pradith in the late game is the hyper carry in a sense for this team, whereas RNG is one of the slower teams in the LPL. I think their bot lane in the finals obviously showing up, and Xiaohu was playing these aggressive top laners where Ming was roaming with Wei to help him out on things like the Gnar, the Lucian, the Jace, but then he defaulted to the Gragas in the finals. Played more towards bot side, good adaptability, and in the end, they're the ones here at MSI instead of FPX.
How much shifts up is, of course, a good question, Cadril. Do we see RNG continue to let it be more of a weak side top for the likes of Xiaohu, or now that he's up against BioPanther, a top laner that we know to primarily be a tank, primarily be a weak side player, more about comms and teamfight contributions than laning strength? Does he go back to champions like the Gnar, like the Lucian, the Jace that he did so well on in the regular season? A lot of questions, and I think that we've had 2 very different games when it comes to draft, Cadril. Game 1 was, it felt like a completely new meta.
Yep.
Game 2 was maybe you can call Akali new, maybe you can call Renekton mid spicy, but otherwise that's 11.5, 11.6. That was playoffs meta as we've seen it. So the question is, are Hecarim and Udyr good enough that they just stick around once the new OPs are banned, or do we see something completely different?
I really don't think Hecarim's that strong, and I think the reason Udyr was first picked because they banned Morgana Rumble and then first picked Udyr. I'm not sure if that was just lack of adaptability from Infinity in the sense that they didn't really feel like they had comfort on these AP junglers with this new style. So we're gonna force an 11.5 draft by banning away the junglers and first picking Udyr to force you onto the, and then we're gonna make more bans in the second ban phase, take away the Lilian thing. So Steel was really pushed by his champion pool there. In the end, goes to the Hecarim 11.5 draft. I expect more adaptability out of these teams. I mean, Wei, he plays almost everything. Xiaohu's so adaptable. Yes, Cryin does play a lot of control mages, but he does play things like Rumble mid, like Renekton mid, like Lucian mid. So I don't think they're going to shy away from this meta. I think they're going to embrace it. It's just a question is whether PentaNet are the ones who can adapt as well.
And it's going to be something interesting to track, of course. A lot of names and faces you may not be used to seeing on the side of PentaNet.YtbG. A lot of players coming into the international stage for the first time. BioPanther, of course, a little bit of history there. And Pabu, international experience, but not in the traditional sense, has gone to All-Star, has been very close to being the 1v1 king on a number of occasions. See what he can do in the jungle. He's inevitably a player that we're going to have to watch, a player that we're going to have to track. He often feels like the core of this team's early game, whereas Pradith, obviously the big late game hyper carry. We've heard it so much anytime we talk about 80 carries, but early game, Pabu going to be the man we have to check out.
Yeah, he's the man you have to look at in the early game to get PentaNet to the mid to late game stages. He's almost like creating space and time for his team, right? And then Pradith is the fallback option in the late game, the carry, the man who steps up 30% of his team's damage on things like Kai'Sa, Philios, Xayah. So those are the things we have to keep our eye out on. And 80 carries is what I want to focus on in this draft. What 80 carries are we going to see? What bot lanes are we going to see from Gala and Pradith? I mean, we saw last game things like the Kai'Sa Xayah trade-off. We saw last game before that things like the Varus Jhin. Are we going to see things like Jinx, these late later game champions in this game.
And oftentimes when it comes to the West versus regions like the LPL and LCK, often, especially with the LPL, there's very different reads on the bot lane meta. Bot lane is much more aggressive. Here, Tahm Kench, defensive pick. In the LPL, you pick Tahm Kench, they're diving you with that champ. So I'm ready to see if the LPL have some more original takes, if they have something different. Because this year it has been mostly the same, just because the champions that are good are so good. But is there going to be any adaptation with 3 patches changing?
I like that analogy of Tahm Kench. It's like one team from another region was like, yeah, we can use Tahm Kench to disengage. And then the LPL like, we can use Tahm Kench to drop the tower aggro.
He's got 2 health bars and he's got an Elise-esque reset. We're diving.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll have to see the different types of aggression from either team. I think we haven't really been... The question of what is the meta going to look like hasn't really been answered. Yes, we've seen some bans on Rumble. Yes, we've seen some bans on Morgana and Pix. But given last game, do teams really want to default to comfort? Is this tournament all going to be about adaptability? Who can read the meta the best and adapt the most and change up the playstyle the most? Or is it going to be about comfort?
And it's a good question, because even in previous tournaments, if we look back to Worlds, play-ins, there were a lot of things that we saw early on in the meta that ended up not really being super relevant. I remember Echo Jungle was kind of the talk of the town, and solo queue ended up being played a couple times in play-ins and then never touched again for the rest of the tournament. Are there other picks like that that are going to feel really strong at the start of the tournament and then disappear completely? Or other picks that come out of left field that no one saw coming that have been super strong in scrims?
Yeah, and it's always the jungle meta in recent times where you had the tanky junglers, Set, Volibear, Sejuani last year, and then it came to a carry jungle meta and teams had to adapt at Worlds. Similar sort of thing here with the AP junglers, and jungle kind of changes up your whole team composition. If you're playing engaged junglers, well, now you can play enchanter supports because you don't need engage and support. If you're playing AP junglers, well, now you can play AD carry mid laners. And if you have AD junglers, then mages are stronger, right? So jungle kind of dictates how your team's going to draft around it. And we're already seeing an Ahri ban come out from RNG targeted on Chaz.
And I love it because we're seeing 80 solo laners banned away on one side, AP jungler banned away on the other side in the form of Morgana. So both of those pools tightly contested and usually paired together. That said, Rumble is up and available. We know this from what we've heard from scrims is the #1 must-ban pick 100%, but instead they banned the Varus. Obviously a very oppressive lane pick. You saw it in the hands of Sven in game 1, and easy Rumble pickup. We finally get to see how good this champion is on the international stage.
Is the Varus ban even that necessary? I think the Rumble is a much, much stronger pick. Even in the regular season, I don't think Gala even has a single game on Varus, so a very surprising ban coming out there from the side of Pentanet, but it does mean that they can trade the Lee Sin for the Rumble. Maybe that was their idea. Thresh also has been banned out on the first rotations because what Thresh does, it enables Aphelios and Jinx, and Praedyth is no shy player of Aphelios. So maybe we see that locked in on 3. The Lee Sin can be a flex for the solo laners, can also go in the jungle, but I doubt it. But that's an insta Kai'Sa Nautilus response from the side of RNG. Gala's most played champion is Kai'Sa. He can get going in the teamfights, get going in the assassinations with a Rumble, and Thresh gets countered by Nautilus in lane, obviously because of the hook interaction, but we're going to see a hyper carry here come out from Praedyth.
And you can see very clearly telegraphed in draft the strategy the Pentanet want to go for. It is all about Praedyth. We talked about it before. He is the man that does 30% of their damage. He is the carry in the late game. Buy time for him. Maybe why we saw the Varus ban, just so that no strong, oppressive early game can come through from the side of RNG. That said, level 6 rolls around. Kai'Sa Nautilus, pretty damn oppressive, especially with a Rumble paired up. Is the trade going to be worth it in the end is the question we're going to have to track in this game, as now the Renekton has been banned away.
My question for Pentanet is, what jungler are you going to run? I don't think that Lee Sin can go jungle against Rumble because of the clear speed difference. If nothing happens in the early game, the Rumble will just naturally be ahead, and I think RNG can just target junglers here if they want to. Yes, they could target mids to free up their mid laner for the blind pick, but I think targeting things like the Kindred is a good idea. Maybe things like the Lilia, the Olaf, these kind of champions banned away. I'm expecting more AP banned out champions, but that's an Olaf ban from PGG, and I mean, understandable. Rumble is almost like a triple flex for this team. We've seen Xiaohu play it, we've seen Cryan play it, and Wei could play it in the jungle as well. I've seen it in solo queue. I've been tracking him in solo queue. He's been playing a lot of Rumble. So it's a triple flex Rumble, and I think that Pentanet want to ban away that Olaf just in case.
They're keeping a lot of options open, ready to see where it will go in the end. A lot of adaptability here, but for RNG, it feels much easier. They just focus on the jungle pool. They say, hey, force that Lee Sin into the jungle, because when you think about what Biopanther
Ooh, that's a Fiddlesticks!
Woo! Sorry, I was very excited. Look, I saw this champion on LS's tier list on Twitter, and I was wondering where this came out of, but I love to see it. Fiddlesticks now coming in.
Pabu has a champion ocean. He's played so many different champions in the LCO, and Fiddlesticks isn't one of them. Now he's busting it out. That's confirmed Lee Sin solo lane. That's a Nocturne lock-in from the side of RNG. That could go mid or top as well. Probably mid now that Nar's locked in. So what's Pentanet going to counter top lane? You have a lot of flexibility in the Lee Sin. Maybe you want to put it into Nar or just default to a tank option for Biopanther. Things like the Ornn, the Scion, the Urgot.
Cagel, they still have the luxury of the flex. They can put this Nocturne mid. They can put it in jungle. There's an Urgot now locked in.
Okay, so it's going to be Lee Sin mid into Nocturne. I don't know if I was ever going to hear that in my pro career or like in pro play in general. There's a Lee Sin versus Nocturne mid, and then you have Fiddlesticks versus Rumble jungle, perhaps. There's so much going on here. A lot of aggression on the bot side of the map as well. This game is going to be bloody.
It's going to be so incredibly explosive. I don't think RNG get the luxury of being the more slow controlled team this time around. I think they are ready to scrap. They're going to have to shift away from what they showed domestically.
Look at RNG's comp. Nocturne ultimate, Rumble ultimate, Kai'Sa, Nautilus, Meganar. Praedyth has to play Pixel perfectly to dodge and dive away from this. But then Pentanet on the re-engage. You have the Fiddlesticks, the Lee Sin assassination. You've got the Urgot who can be a bruiser frontline and the Thresh for the pick potential. So I would say RNG's comp is more well-rounded. It looks really broken. I'm not going to lie. Their composition on this patch looks very, very strong. But Pentanet have that kind of wildcard factor in the Fiddlesticks Urgot. Maybe RNG get caught off guard.
Cadril, 3 games at MSI 2021. This is the 3rd one that we're now hopping into. 3 completely different drafts. I am here for it. I love it. I love the Fiddlesticks. I love the Nocturne. I love if there is a Rumble in the jungle. I am ready to see what these champions can do.
Do you know what I love, Dracos? I love the fact that Lee Sin is 100% pick ban. Banned both games, and now it's picked mid lane. Mid lane Lee Sin, top lane Lee Sin has been dominating solo queue. I think I've seen Armwood, Perks, all these solo laners have been playing Lee Sins in their lanes. It's a flex for double solo lane. It's very powerful on red side, and we've seen both games so far. The blue side bans Lee Sin. RNG leave it open. Pentanet lock it in. Chaz on the Lee Sin. Let's see what he can do.
And when you look at overall strength from both of these regions, you have to wonder, are we going to get both these teams to their comfort zone where they can play for team fights, where they can play for scaling, or is it just going to be an explosive early game where little differences in the lanes or big differences in the lanes end the game before it can even start?
Yeah, and RNG have the tools at level 6. Rumble, Nocturne, if they can move bot and get one good bot wave for a dive, Pentanet are going to be in trouble, but Chaz has the TP. Pabu can power farm on the Fiddlesticks. I would love to see how his clear goes in the early game, because I've seen Fiddlesticks do 2 camps at the same time, level 1. We'll see if he does that, but Ming already getting aggressive here.
1 auto down, just trading back. Praedyth lethal tempo, healing up a little bit there. Will now walk away.
Ooh, Pabu took a health potion and put his ping cord on the entrance to cover the invade. Maybe he's scared of that. Fiddlesticks level 1 is very weak. And they have a Nocturne Gnar. They're going to be a fight here.
Shotgun legs are going to be very strong. Nocturne level 1, though, also quite strong. Lee Sin, decently powerful as well, but right now it is a 4v3. The hook going to go in. Biopanther forced to flash away.
Xiaohu also flashed, though, so it's an even trade overall, but RNG get the ping cord.
That is going to be massive. A little bit less defensive vision here. Jungler, something we have to track in. Cadril, I'm not going to lie. If you are an LCO fan, if you are an OS fan, things look dire. But luckily, when you need to know where to look, where to focus your attention, the man's made it easy for you because his head is a highlighter. It's Pabu. And that, I said, that says Champion Ocean. You might wonder, Dracos, 4 champions, that's a puddle. And I go, yeah, okay, 4 champions, that's a puddle.
Now it's like a lake.
Now it's like a lake.
And now, wait for it. Now it's an ocean.
Because let me tell you, this is the only region where you can play Viego, and Pabu has done it.
And now he's playing Fiddlesticks.
And now he's playing
And
Fiddle.
Fiddlesticks wasn't on that list, so now it's not an ocean, it's a...
What? Was it bigger than an ocean?
A planet. So it's Champion Planet.
Champion Planet.
Well, aggression in the bot side already.
Now going forward, Praedyth backing off. Gala getting a decent trade, but Praedyth firing back pretty well here in the early lane. Nice little thumbs up. I like the confidence coming in. But the reason we talk about Pabu is the catalyst for the early game on the side of Pentanet. Now, I'll be honest with you. Xiaohu has a bigger champion pool than Pabu. As Pabu just barely manages to clear out there. And part of that's because the LPL just plays a million games. So he's the other guy that we have to watch on the opposite side, because Xiaohu, alongside Ming, is one of the longest standing members of this team. And while Biopanther has weathered a lot of storms, weathering Xiaohu is it's a bit of a different beast.
Yeah, Xiaohu role swapping to top. Him and Ming won MSI in 2018, alongside Uzi, alongside Kai'Sa, this roster from almost 3 years ago. They've stayed almost like a rebuild, coming in here, Wei, Crying, Gala all joining last year. They won the LPL, they've come to this MSI. This is the 7th international appearance for this organization of RNG. So these players, they have a lot to live up to, I suppose. I mean, this organization has an MSI trophy to their name.
Absolutely do. And of course, this game may not seem important in the grand scheme of things, but it all starts with a single win or a single loss can change the pace at which you play. RNG very clearly the favorites, and for now they've got control in the mid lanes. Is Crying, I think no surprise. When it comes to the auto attack duel, Nocturne reigns supreme. His entire kit is just a bunch of steroids. There's a Q that boosts your AD, there's a W spell shield that boosts your attack speed, and when you got a Conqueror to boot, you are a very difficult champion to trade with. That said, Lee Sin energy-based, so maybe in a war of attrition, Lee Sin can come out on top.
He is struggling in the early lane phase, though. Nocturne obviously can push the wave really easy with the Q and with the passive. Pabu's going to show on this top wall. Just about shows, but both junglers are on opposite sides. I think both teams know this now. They should know that Wei's path bot side because he's not contesting this top grab, and Pabu was spotted on a ward. So even early game so far, the only worry I have for Pentanet is their bot side. If they get pushed in and Cryan can move down here with Wei, then they're in trouble. But it looks like Wei's gonna base, Pabu's gonna base. Even game so far.
Pabu walking down. Looks like he's pinged out wolves. Maybe they're anticipating an invade here. Don't really have the vision to know for certain, so rushing down. But he is behind now, as Rumble has reset, and he is not.
Yeah, I would say that's almost like a small blunder there from Pabu. He's scared that he's going to lose his bot camps, but the problem is the time that it takes for Pabu to run from top grab to his bot camps is the time that Wei can use to base and run topside. So naturally, when Pabu gets this wolves, I think Wei is a couple seconds behind him. The only difference is Wei's actually base and picked up some items. So I think Pabu's going to clear out wolves, clear out Grump, and then go to base, but he will get spotted on the bot side of the map. Maybe that gives a window for Wei to walk into topside and take his top camp respawns, because Pabu is quite behind Wei right now.
And you can already see Cryan walking up, just trying to get a little bit more vision in the jungle, lays down a ward on Raptors. So while Pabu, we expected to be a catalyst for early action, he is being flawlessly tracked by the side of RNG.
Yeah, and both these junglers probably want to play towards the bot side. Pabu doesn't want to get prated to the late game. Wei,
oh, that's disaster. Decoy caught right as the recall comes in. He has to flash out to safety, but they can just follow up. They can just commit. Decoy now set to fall. Exhaust coming through. Maybe, just maybe, he could buy him one more auto. One more auto. They cannot get it. Decoy stays alive.
Just about lives. The exhaust was clutch. Gala didn't use the heal to gap close, but look at Wei. Like I just talked about, he's going to take this Raptor respawn, and then that does put Pabu on the back foot.
3 summoners to 2 though overall. Chaz immediately has to leap out to safety. That fear of Nocturne is just so oppressive to play against. It's only going to get harder once level 6 comes through. Pabu going to clear some vision, but there's just so much in his jungle. If he walks face first into this Rumble, it is fight. Rumble, he's only got Sork shoes. Wei going to go in. It's going to be big damage. He's going... Ooh. Fear may be enough, but Pabu has to run to safety. Healing is just not going to be enough. Rumble simply does too much damage. The flash back out. Pabu not having flash for the level 6 is big. Biopanther on the way in, but Xiaohu just continuing to pressure. It's a full court press from the side of RNG.
Yeah, RNG have pushing top, pushing mid, and they have a winning bot side, so that means that they can walk into the jungle. Wei forcing out Pabu, wants to contest these Krugs. Decoy is around, but Ming's on his way. It could be a 3v3 on the top side of the map, but Wei might think it's a little bit too risky.
Level 6 though for Xiaohu. Meganar there. If they want to go, they need to go soon. A Decoy, not sure how much they actually see on that one. Flash over the wall. Wei. A little aggressive, but level 6 now coming in. Decoy going to be in trouble. They know that he has no flash. He's walking out. The fear has been proc. They're trying to burn him down the flay. Is it going to be enough? The hook now lands in. Have they caught out the Rumble? Just a single tower shot on the way. Biopanther only level 5. Meanwhile, Xiaohu is taking place. Chaz going in. The kickback. The follow-up. Wei trying to turn and burn, but it's not enough. That is first blood for the LCO. First blood for Oceania. Now it is Ming in trouble. Xiaohu is getting plates, but Panther is here to look for some kills. The hook out to safety, and RNG will back away.
Flash Q. He might look for it. No, decides to back off. Really overreaching there from RNG. Cryan had no mana. He couldn't look for the kill, and they turn the fight. Pentanet gets first blood. Both AD carries farming up on the bot side. Biopanther lost a lot of creeps on top, and he lost a lot of XP. Pabu's a little bit behind on his clear as well, but that's first blood for Pentanet.
At the end of the day, though, they're still at a gold deficit. The massive CS differences between the lane. While, yes, they were able to grab that kill, so much free farm time given to the likes of Cryan, who got to farm, push out, and then roam up, use that semi-global ultimate. Similarly, Xiaohu didn't even participate in that exchange. He was just taking plates. He was just taking minions.
Yeah, and the laners definitely getting ahead here. Cryan TV's back. Chaz matches it. But there's a pause, Dracos. A lot of action in the early game, I must say. I thought it'd be more around the bot side, but Wei's taking the action topside, and that all comes down to the small things in League of Legends. Pabu gets spotted on a bot side Grump ward and hasn't based yet, so Wei says, we have tempo advantage, let's contest topside camps. Ming forces a play in bot, bases and tries to get there in time. Decoy obviously there first because it's the enemy jungle. And the action kicks off. Pentanet gets first blood, really good read from Chaz, really good communication, but Wei's flash over the wall of those Krugs was a little bit too aggressive, I think.
Oh, I'm just calling it out immediately, hands shaking. Goes to bite the nails there. It's a lot of pressure on stage right now, and it's hard to just be casual when you're in this position coming in from the LCO. A lot of veteran players, a lot of veteran names on the opposite side, a lot of young players here. Wouldn't be surprised if all of them are sweating for every moment in this game. And the hardest part I feel like about these pauses, Cajun, you can tell me this, is just pausing a game, being in the middle of whatever you're doing. Your heart is racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then you just stop. And no one is allowed to speak. That has to be just the biggest shock.
Yeah, obviously not allowed to talk in a pause because that's just unfair, right? You can plan ahead before the pause comes back. So these players aren't allowed to talk, and that just kind of makes you lose your thought process unless you're completely really focused. I've been in pauses of 1 hour on the LEC stage, right, where there's like a bug.
You mean 10 minutes?
You know, yeah, but the chrono break comes in, the pause is long, and from there you can lose concentration, you can lose the flow of the game, because as soon as the game starts again, you're like, okay, wait, what was our plans? Because no one's talked, right? So you have to really keep up with what's actually happening, try to remind yourself on the minimap, okay, I was doing this, 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 and this, I'll keep track of it. When the pause comes back, I'll know what to do.
It's true. Big, though, as we take a breath, chance to reset after the plays that have been going in the favor of RNG, despite the first blood in favor of Pentanet. Level 6s are going to be coming in. The Urgot is a big deal. For the Fiddlesticks, it is massive. It's a similar story, though, on the opposite side for the Rumble. Nocturne already using his. Lee Sin already using his.
Oh, we're back in.
So we're going to have to track these ultimate cooldowns. So much of this game going to be defined by that, or by which AD carry can just scale latest the fastest.
Yeah, but Chaz has the Iron Spike Whip now, so he can use that, push in the wave, so Cryin gets pushed in. Can't really contest because jungle support missing, has no flash. Very risky for him to walk up, but the Nocturnal being on cooldown is really, really good for the side laners of Pentanet. It means that they're relieved. We'll ignore that Q. And Praedeath and Biopanther don't really have to be scared for another 30-40 seconds.
Of course, Fiddlesticks at level 6 as well. Wei has his, though. Rumble Ultimate, terrifying. Equalizer, one of the nastiest abilities in the game, League of Legends. 1.5 total AP scaling.
And look at how fast Chaz just pushed that mid wave in. He autoed the first 3 melees, Iron Spike Whip, wave's dead. And that's the power of Lee Sin. Max wins the trades, you can't really walk up to him, and he one-shots the wave. So Chaz and Cryin, it feels like they have so much downtime. They can just instantly one-shot the wave and both sit on a pink ward. Both siders have to be scared, so freezes are really important. If Praedeath and Decoy can keep this freeze on bot side, it frees them up.
Certainly does. Kai'Sa now coming back, though. Maybe they look to break the freeze, but this is Iron Spike Whip, the lane, where Cryin will now walk up with his Nocturne passive and maybe auto-attack to try to one-shot the wave, and then proc his own Iron Spike Whip, and we will do this repeatedly until everyone has ult again.
And moving to the bot side of the map, I think that's key. You have these double ultimates. If they can kind of catch out Gala here with no flash, Ming with no flash, then maybe they can start snowballing the game. But the mid to bot is important, but the Herald's up, right? The Herald is also very important in the early stage of the game. Early Dragon for early Herald, always worth it for the Herald most of the time if it's used well, and RNG have the pushing lanes to use it. They're going to start this up. The Nocturne ultimate's up. Xiaohu also has his ultimate. Wei has the ultimate. And if there's a 3v3 on this top side, honestly, Dracos, I don't know who wins it. It comes down to skill, it comes down to Chaz and Lee Sin, but Pentanet are staying bot side. They're not moving up, they're not contesting the Heralds. That means they have to cross map. Look for a dive. RNG only have 1 TP to work with.
But there has to be a little bit of pressure, it's said, on the side of Pentanet, because you see the Gnar steadily building a CS advantage. Urgot is getting further and further behind. Herald is going to drop. They need to be ready to force the dive, but Gala and Ming, they sniff this one out. They back away. They know this is the only pressure play, the only response play available for Pentanet. So it is Herald exchange for, it looks like, just 1 plate here from the side of Pentanet.
Yeah, but Chaz is going to be late to mid-wave. Cryin can push that one in. They are going to trade the Drake for the Herald. Chaz obviously going to catch that mid-wave, but Biopanther is the weak side. This is what we expected from draft. This is how Pentanet play the game. Sion, Urgot, Oren, these are the weak side champions he wants to be on. He has no flash though, so he's going to have to give up this top wave. So even trade across the map. They might even Herald this tower to take it down, and that gives Xiaohu even more push on this top side.
And if Xiaohu gets a really fast stride breaker here, this is going to be so absolutely miserable for Biopanther. As Chaz trading back, instant leap in, instant leap out, and Tower now going to be taking a ton of damage. Second creep wave coming in. Maybe they full commit to this. That is the first charge, and they'll finish it.
That's crazy. 9 minutes, 40 seconds into the game. Top tower is down for Biopanther. That Herald, disaster. And look at the gold. 1.2k gold down already, 9 minutes in. And that's the problem with playing this weak side. Pentanet couldn't find that much on the cross map, barring 2 plates and a little bit of a wave denial. But the cross map from RNG is just way stronger.
And honestly, Gaedron was caught off guard. I thought the Herald had already charged when there were 2 plates left. That was the start of the use of the Herald. That was Xiaohu building up such a massive lane advantage just solo up against this Urgot.
And that all comes down to the early fight in the jungle. Biopanther the one hovering around. And they were able to deny creeps as Xiaohu pushed in the waves. We've got a replay here. Looks like Ming flashed in for the hook, forces Praedeath's flash, and that's always worth it for RNG because you have a Nocturne Rumble. Jinx no flash means it's really hard for it to fight. Nocturne, the Nautilus flash, sorry, doesn't really mean as much.
And again, RNG is steadily building gold lead, almost 2k ahead, and this is the second time, again, where we've seen slightly sloppy recalls cost Pentanet dearly. First it was Decoy barely making it out, this time Praedeath forcing the flash, forced to back away, and resetting the recall also in itself a tempo loss.
Yeah, and that flash is actually really important. I'm just going to go back to it 1 second, because Praedeath no flash for the next 4 minutes means that RNG, when they play this mid to bot, Nocturne Rumble ult on the dive is going to be horrific if the Lantern doesn't come in time. So we'll have to see how RNG want to do it. You can see they've transferred all that pressure from top to bot side. Xiaohu's also grouping up here, means Pentanet have to give it up, which means once this mid wave's pushed in, they can start walking up, getting some plates, move into the bot side of the map. And you can see Wei and Ming holding hands. Xiaohu's probably going to join them as well. Biopanther's catching top wave with no TP. I'm not sure if Pentanet can play on the bot side of the map.
And the thing that you see there is that with no control mages in the game, with a Lee Sin versus a Nocturne mid, if you have a wave and a man advantage, you get to walk up and hit the tower. It's as simple as that. The reliable wave clear just isn't there. So if RNG just keep going for plays like that, they're just going to keep building this advantage. And you see in this game right now, all eyes on Xiaohu. Massive gold advantage for this man, whereas on the opposite side, Chaz, benefactor of that first blood. What else can he get done?
Yeah, and people who've been quiet this game is Gala. I mean, there was a little bit of an exchange level 3 in bot, but this is the first tournament for RNG without Uzi. Gala has big shoes to fill, and in the finals, I think he did really well. He did pretty exceptional in the LPL, especially in the finals. Really good stats to look at, really ahead in kills, KDA, gold, lots of things going into him, and the pentakill. You remember the pentakill, which was really fun to watch. Really well played from him. And RNG funneling resource into this bot side. Xiaohu's already ahead. He's a level up. He's going to keep the top push. What's the point in playing top side? Let's go bot.
Here goes
flash.
The instant combo. He just gets absolutely deleted. That is why Rumble has been banned. That damage was disgusting. A double kill.
And this all comes down to Ming trading flashes with Praedyth. The second these ultimates land, what can he do? No stopwatch, no flash. He's dead. And they can start hitting onto this bot tower. Gala doesn't pick up any kills, but he's going to get some plates. And Wei already 1,000 gold ahead as well. The map's falling apart for Pentanet.
And this is one of the questions that we had. Would we see Wei play around the top side, set up Xiaohu? But Xiaohu is building his own leads. That's freed up Wei to play around the bottom side. You talked about it, a single flash missing, the immediate follow-up, and this is not...
It's a full Rumble ult.
This is nasty.
It's a full Rumble ult. There's really not much Praedyth can do here, and Pentanet needed to find something, but what can they do? Mid push is even. They can't control bot side. Xiaohu has perma top push, who can go towards mid, which means Chaz has to back off. So Pentanet, the only real way they can crack open this setup from RNG is find a pick, but it's so difficult when you have defensive vision. Look at their pinks, all in their own jungle on the blue side of the bottom side of the map. And RNG can just kind of walk up and do whatever they want with these engaged tools. Nocturne, Nautilus, Kai'Sa, Rumble, there's so much to deal with for Praedyth.
And on top of that, you have the I won't call it global, but the long-range mobility of the Nocturne ult as well as the Kai'Sa ultimate. So if you're even slightly off on a play, or if RNG can respond, even if it's a few seconds late, their ultimates and their abilities and their champions can make up that difference. PGG, it's incredibly difficult. 1 minute left till the Infernal, trying to lay down at least a little bit of vision. Pabu really yet to find an impact out of those early plays. The Fiddlesticks not quite getting the value maybe that PGG were hoping for.
Yeah, and PGG kind of got some bot side control there. They had a push. Biopanther pushed out top. He has the TP as well, so they have one dragon already. Infernal dragon spawning, 40 seconds. Maybe Pentanet just want to fight it. The lanes are struggling because of the amount of control RNG have. Maybe they just want to take a fight.
And I think the thing is, Cadril, you saw how much damage Rumble did. Now that was on locked down targets. If they can get out of the ult, it's not such a big concern. But now that Wei, level 9, has Night Harvester, has been stacking up the Dark Harvest as well, it might just be too much damage. If Jinx gets hit by any of those major cooldowns, Praedyth just can't fight.
There's so many of them, right? You've got the Nocturne Rumble, you've got the Kai'Sa Nautilus, and then on top of that, if you dodge away from all those four, Xiaohu can flash in with the Mega Gnar and get you into the wall. He has a Lantern to work with, his flash is up soon, he has the Kraken Slayer. Biopanther's TPing in, it looks like they do want to fight this dragon. This TP means they're committing.
No tower top, Wei push in their favor. PGG at least have a little bit of the setup, but really don't have the vision. Decoy going to be spotted out, has to be careful here. Pabu waiting over the wall, waiting in the darkness. Hook will not quite get down. So close there. Ming not even sweating as he just walks away.
And that's what Pentanet need to look for. They need to look for a pick, because the second they lose vision, Cryon can come out of nowhere. Wei can use the ultimate from Fog of War. It's going to be really difficult. Look at the amount of space they have to work with. They have this only choke from the blue buff entrance. And RNG, instead of even starting the dragon, they can just start hitting onto this tower. Pabu's been spotted out. That's their main engage tool alongside Chaz. Chaz goes to clear midwave. And I think RNG have all the tools they need to maybe even look for a dive.
Chaz is just getting absolutely burned down here. They're going to try to take him out. Leap forward from Xiaohu. The finish up coming in from Cryon. Now Biopanther is here, but it's too little too late. The whole time the PGG were trying to set up the dragon play, RNG were taking mid. They take Chaz too. They are getting everything.
This is the problem Pentanet have. They don't have vision, so they don't know what RNG is doing. Two members hitting on towards the tower. Can we force Drake? They walk in, they lose mid tower, and then Chaz gets dove. So everything's falling apart for Pentanet here. They don't get the dragon. They lose their mid tier 1. Really good macro from RNG, using the enemy's information to their advantage. They know that they want to contest dragon. Well, let's just go mid, and if they walk into dragon, we'll collapse on them.
And overall, the amount of time wasted there by PGG. Now, if it works out, you're going to call that absolute success, worth the gamble. But it was a gamble. Fiddlestick stood there for almost a minute. Pabu just waiting, hoping, begging almost to find that flank. But RNG play it slow. They use blue trinkets, they get the vision, they do what they need to do to make sure that they do not expose themselves to the Fiddlesticks ultimate. And so far, the Fiddlesticks pick, as powerful as it could be on paper, has just not had any impact.
Yeah, the problem Pabu's having is he needs to find a fight or a pick to get his ultimate used, to get the pick, to get the kill. The problem is when you have no vision, you can never really find those options. You don't have any pushing lanes to work with. You can't run through bot or mid to try and get the objective first. You're essentially sitting in your own jungle, just trying to wait for them to walk in. If RNG respect it like they did, pop some wards, use the Kai's W to spot him out. The second he's spotted, RNG can walk forwards.
Now Wei is going to start the Herald, as you said. Things maybe going to start to go from bad to worse. 4K gold lead in favor of RNG. It is 1 dragon to 1, but it's 2 towers to 0. Absolute and total map control from the side of RNG. And as RNG get ahead, Praetus' life gets harder and harder. Almost level 11 Rumble coming to this game. Xiaohu level 12. He has a Stride Breaker. I don't think the Jinx can really 1v1 any of the champions on the opposing side at this point, outside of the Nautilus. So things looking grim for the side of Pentanet.
Pentanet grouping up though. They pinged that mid wave coming out of base, and when you do that, it means you want to contest it. So they're contesting this mid wave. Maybe they want to push it in and go towards the bot side of the map, get some vision for Praetus, but Praetus left alone.
Gal's just going to walk forward. He can take his time on this one. He's got the ultimate. They're going to use the TP. RNG going to back away for at least a moment, but Ming says not today. Rather, double TP now the response from RNG. They are no stranger to fully committing to the bottom side.
Pabu might look to channel the ultimate though. Here we go.
This could be massive. The Fiddlesticks now coming into the midst of everybody. That's the fall of the entire team. Going a hook from downtown to take out Ming. Wei trying to follow up, but the Rumble ult is not what they need. It is not soon. It is not enough. But Chaz is burning down. He just stands in the equalizer, and suddenly PGG, it looks so good. But RNG just slapping them with their wallet. They're just too strong.
RNG turned the fight. Quadra kill for Wei. The Rumble coming up huge, and it looked like RNG were going to lose the fight. Really good Fiddlesticks ultimate, but they all tunnel visioned into a Rumble Gnar, and Xiaohu and Wei clean up.
Incredible, incredible team fighting from the side of RNG. Wei, truly a terror in that exchange, and sadly, that felt like the last-ditch effort. That felt like the last attempt. That felt like the one fight that PGG had to win.
But it looked like it was going to work. Praetus escaped Ming. It looked like Gala couldn't really find the target to ultimate, and Chaz managed to find the backline. The problem is, there's so many threats. We talked about it in draft. Although you're getting onto the backline, look at the front line. Noctur and Rumble, Gnar diving onto your backline, and then they managed to turn the fight. I'd love to see the replay. I want to see how much damage Wei did or where his positioning was, because I was focused on the Fiddlesticks. I thought that Pentanet might have had that fight, and they might have been able to find the win there to try and get a bot tower, bring the game back into their own hands, and make this game closer. But the problem is, the Rumble cleaned up. He's 6-1-1 now, and the damage is only going to get worse.
Oh man, a second Hextech alternator. He's just going to one-tap. Even if they don't stand in the ult, even if they flash out immediately, they're going to lose half their health on impact. Praetus doing what he can to pick up the waves. Normally he is the big carry for this team, soaking up most of the CS in the mid to late game, but it's not really even the late game. We're not even at 20 minutes yet, and it's already almost a 6K gold lead for the side of RNG.
Yeah, Jinx is going to need a couple more items. So let's watch this again, because they're collapsing. Pentanet, look on the map, the TPs are coming in, and RNG commit double TP. Praetus dodges away from Ming, and from here it looks like the fight's won, because Gala and Ming actually die to Pabu on the side, who gets a really good Fiddlesticks on them. Hang on, we got a fight!
There's more fights going out. The new Axe Effect replay not going to be allowed to finish, because more fighting is now coming through. Decoy with the hook coming in. Biopanther off to the side, but he's the one getting collapsed on Wei. Ultimate back up and available. Here comes the Nocturne ult on top of that. It barely touches the Jinx, and she loses a third of her health.
Really risky to dive there, but it looked like RNG found a pick. That's just some Fiddlesticks clones, it's not Pabu. Don't get baited out there, but it looked like RNG found a fight. Xiaohu had the Mega Gnar ultimate on cooldown, so it looked like he might have found Chaz. Chaz does escape. They can't find the re-engage on Praetus, so Pentanet holding on.
Holding on for now, but certainly looks a little dire. RNG maybe a little bit too enthusiastic with the ultimates. It does give them priority and control over mid for now, and Xiaohu looking scarier and scarier. It's been a long time since I've seen a Black Cleaver ever, but he is far enough ahead, and he's feeling confident in himself. He's going to shred through the Urgot with that item choice.
Yeah, Pentanet again, grouping up on mid wave. Can we push this out? 5-man mid, push it out, maybe we can move the sides. The problem is RNG have side push. Xiaohu's already in Fog of War, and they're going to collapse on you.
Now going forward, Wei's just going to burn him down. He doesn't even need the ultimate, but he silenced himself. They're overheating a little bit too soon, but that's on the backside.
Oh.
That's Xiaohu going in. He's finding a single kill onto Lee Sin. Here comes the Rumble ult. It's just too much damage. The flash hook from Ming from downtown. The double for Xiaohu, a single for Gala, and the fight for RNG.
This might be a 20-minute Baron as well. RNG collapse on Pentanet. Pentanet wanted to push in mid-wave as 5 and then try to get some vision so they have room to work with this Fiddlesticks, with this Lee Sin. Chaz loses the 1v1 to Xiaohu. The Rumble ultimate zones away 3 members of Pentanet, and that's a 20-minute Baron. Pabu is around, he has ultimate, but there goes Cryin.
Ult comes in from the Nocturne, but Pabu holding on for now. Stride Pabu comes in. Pabu, no!
He almost had him, almost, and then he would have had the ult to try and get into the pit, but he did use the smite. Cryin takes him down. Baron. Xiaohu still pushing with Herald. Biopanther has no flash.
It's almost a 10k gold lead.
Level
Xiaohu's about to go
15.
Mega.
Level 15 at 20 minutes. Xiaohu is so far ahead.
Cadril. It was David versus Goliath, RNG versus Pentanet.gg, and now there's a third tier, the bonus tier that we've unlocked, which is RNG with the 10k gold lead against Pentanet.gg.
With a Baron buff.
With a Baron buff.
Level 15 Gnar.
And I would say that this is a 99-1% sort of game.
Yeah, we'll have to see how RNG use their Baron power play. And if they can push in, there's still a tier 2 bot open.
Yeah. And we normally talk about with the first Baron power play, the Red Bull Baron power play, breaking tier 2s, and that's all you're going to get. But with this one, with this big of a lead, they very well could just end the game.
Yeah, they're probably going to look for dives. Noxon ultimate up soon. The Rumble ultimate's up. Xiaohu's probably going to push in mid. They're playing a 4-1 here. No, they're playing a 1-3-1. Cryin has TP, sorry. So they're going to push in all 3 lanes. And the moment Pentanet group up to try to defend, I wouldn't be surprised to see RNG look for a dive. Not normally what you do on paper. You normally chip down the towers, but they're so far ahead.
Chaz now walking in, but Wei is there. Has overheated, but he still just does so much damage with the autos. He's just going to get locked up, taken out. Chaz can get nothing done. RNG, so powerful. Pabu waiting in the darkness. Here comes the ulti. He wants to turn. Pabu, he just doesn't do enough damage over, but they pulled the Nocturne back into the tower. Cryin still living, though. RNG just too
Look at
far ahead. Xiaohu gonna finish the job, and that's gotta be it. No hope left for Pentanet.gg. RNG coming in clutch in this game. They simply cannot lose a fight.
Yeah, Pentanet don't have that much wave clear. Jinx is going to have to step up, so they try to find a pick. Chaz gets warded on the Lantern. From there, Xiaohu collapses after pushing in mid. He's basically tanking a tier 2 tower, dives them with the Mega Gnar. I think that's going to be it. PGG, they're up in 5 to 10 seconds. Maybe they can look to defend. Xiaohu's basing. He's probably going to TP back. Maybe they want to look to end. Or RNG going to play this slow. Base, regroup towards the top side, but this game looks far from done. Pentanet down almost 13,000 gold, 2 inhibitors at 22 minutes into the game.
Thing is, Cadril, a 13,000 gold lead, you can take your time. It's not even disrespectful, it's probably the right choice. You can see 5k, Red Bull Baron power play, it's mad. This team is too far ahead. I don't think anyone on PGG can walk up, and we might see that right now. Xiaohu just gonna walk into Pabu, forces out the Proto Belt, and Praedyth poking, but he cannot walk into auto attack range of Xiaohu.
And this is kind of what we expected, right? The #1 seed coming out of the LPL, RNG versus Pentanet. It was looking dire on paper. I think most people expected RNG to win, but this is a very convincing win. RNG just kind of have to walk into the top side here, and I think from there, the game's kind of over. Praedyth has Flash to work with. Chaz has completed the second item, but I think this deficit is just too much to mount.
Bing hooking his way out. Xiaohu about to go Mega. Solid player, just sitting on this, isn't going to auto attack anymore. Just on the edge of going Mega. If they hit him once, he'll transform. They kind of want to hit him to stop him from going Mega on his own terms, but now Pabu goes in on the top side. I think that's just going to be it. Look at that Rumble ult across the backside. He leaps in. He throws him into the wall. That is a slam dunk. That is just a clean house from the side of RNG. They have absolutely decimated Pentanet.gg. Triple kill coming in for Gala. Absolute domination. It was close for a few minutes of the game, but since then, RNG has been in absolute control. Differences in the lane, differences in the map play, and in the compositions. RNG coming out on top. Pentanet.gg never getting a chance in this game.
Yeah, only really one mistake from RNG over chasing in topside, but even then, the pressure of the lanes that they had was able to net them just such a huge early lead. They dominated the fights from start to finish. Really good execution from Ming to trade Flash with Praedyth. That unlocked the game from them, and from there, Wei just ran away with the game.
And we're learning a lot about the meta. We learned why Rumble was banned in the first 2 games, most certainly. And while Pentanet maybe feel like they had an answer in the Fiddlesticks, it did not work out this time around. Of course, adaptation, though, is the name of the game. A single loss is not the end of this tournament. Their biggest opponent is the Unicorns of Love. RNG, the expected favorites for this group. You will well on Pentanet.gg fighting for that second slot in our only 3-team group.
Yeah, 3 teams. Pentanet losing here is not the biggest of issues for them, right? Losing to RNG was expected. You expect RNG to beat UOL as well. It's more about can they beat UOL. That's their main rival in this group. Losing to RNG, it's not that big of a problem for them.
On the opposite side for RNG, I think not the biggest test for this team. They were coming out individually just in top lane with the Gnar pick, massive individual leads built up there, the execution in the fights, Wei absolutely dominating in the early matchup. And one of the things that I love that we saw from this team is just the flawless tracking of Pabu in the early game. Perfect wards at every single turn.
And also respecting the fights. RNG, they didn't even bite off more than they could chew in the bot side of the map. The second dragon, they didn't overextend into Pentanet's jungle and get caught out by the Fiddlesticks. They spotted him, and that's when they started moving forwards. Really good setup and execution, trading the flashes, getting the game cracked open. And RNG, after that mid-fight from Xiaohu, he was just so far ahead, just solo killing Chaz in the middle of 4 people. The Rumble was coming down, zoning 3. I think RNG just had way too much firepower in that game.
It's It was a sight. Cannot wait to see how RNG develop over the course of this tournament. Certainly a commanding first game. How much does it reflect their full strength? We're going to have to find out. However, Mercedes drive to victory, presented by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, wow. Rumble in the jungle, bot lane. It was a wombo combo 12 minutes into the game. It was an incredible thing to watch. You're going to get to check it out again in a second here.
Yeah.
Wow. That looks like a ban-worthy champion, I'd have to say.
I would definitely agree with you. The Q overheat with the ultimate just melts them down. Really good ultimate from Ming to set it up. Gala didn't even have to use a killer instinct to join the fight. So,
dang.
Yeah, domination from start to finish.
That was... Yeah, please ban that champion. Everyone, please. Listen to the MSI anthem, though. It starts right here on the League of Legends official playlist on Spotify while we are at it in the break. After that, Pentanet return to the stage as they take on Unicorns of Love for another Group A matchup.
Really important game.
Yes, it is. Yeah, bans.
Ban.
Dear me, I just wanted to tell you that soon, everything you know will change. You're part of the breakout, part of an elite group of individuals that launched the global movement. The pioneers that changed the sole definition of a gamer. I'm you, from the future, and I just wanted to tell you that your future will be legendary. This is for you, gamer. Exceed the game. Unleash the future.
Hey, I didn't order any pizza.
Jake from State Farm. After you saved me so much dough on insurance with that Parker promo, I devised a promo for you.
Here's the deal, Parker. State Farm offers everyone surprisingly great rates.
Yeah, right. Pepperoni pockets, an atomic brownie, cuckoo crusty.
There's no promo, it's just great rates.
And a cider ranch. You're the man.
When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
How you gonna play it? How you gonna play it when you ain't seen nothing this player? Me and my squad gon' turn on the squash like we don't see no other players. Ain't nothing to squash, ain't nothing to solve. You played and you already did. I'm ready to mob, I'm ready to mosh, shit moving with nobody scared. Keep pushing my buttons, I might push a button and have my butt push up and slam. Made a decision to enter the lair, you better enter prepared. I seen it vividly, my vision of victory. I kill him and split the scene, click with me.